Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to the Great Canadian Relay. If it's your first time, you're going to enjoy yourself. We have Canadians all across Canada coming on to tell us what's going on. And we get to have some fun tonight. We have a full slate. All regions are covered. And it might even be another guest or two that I wasn't sure about, but they're going to be here. But yeah, I'm excited. Full coverage. We got some new faces and we got some returning faces. So you're going to be hearing updates from some people and you're going to be hearing some new stuff from some people. And we have some fun faces, some people that you may recognize, past guests on the show, people that we'll have in the future too. But yeah, I'm excited. You ready for the 3 hours? It goes by so quick, doesn't it? Because we do 20 minutes in each region. So yeah, it goes by quickly. But boy, do we get a lot of information. And expect some really good updates this week because I know who's coming. And I also know who's coming for the first time that we've been trying to get for a long time. I'm looking at you, BC. I'm happy you got confirmation today. So I will let you know who's coming on that I know for sure. In the Maritimes, we're going to have Morgan May, so the Queen of Diagmon, and then Chris Deering as well. He's in New Brunswick and she's in Nova Scotia. So we've got the Maritimes kind of covered this time, don't we? Chris Deering is going to tell us what's going on in New Brunswick. And of course, Morgan is going to tell us what's going on all over the Maritimes. She's taking this very seriously. She's doing reporting. She's collecting names, collecting information. So we'll be looking forward to her update. Over in Quebec, we got Gov Corrupt. No Lex this time. Lex had to tell us that he couldn't make it this time, but he'll be back next week. You know, life gets in the way, schedules gets in the way. But no, we're as available type of show. So if they have the time, they can come on. So we're going to have Gov Corrupt give us an update on Quebec. I'm looking forward to that one because, boy, he really knows the finances well and he knows the corruption well. So it's a perfect province for him, I guess, right? Over in Ontario, we have Maggie Hope Braun and Chris Deering. That's going to be fun. Chris is at a cabin, so he may have some reception problems, but we're going to do our best. But yeah, we'll hear from him. Oh, sorry, I said Chris Deering. My apologies. Chris Dacey. So sorry, Chris. Yeah, you're in New Brunswick. You're not in Ontario. It's Chris Dacey in Ottawa. So we interviewed him yesterday. So he'll be on tomorrow or today. And he's going to be having a visit from his cabin. So that'll be cool. And then over in Manitoba, it's going to be Musical Manitoba again. Yesterday or last week it was Zahena. And this week it's Greg Arcade. A lot of you know who Greg is. You've heard his music before. Maybe even had an interview or two of his. Patriot Propaganda did one. So Greg is an awesome person. And he's also on this week as well. So we'll talk about that. He's on Friday. So if you really enjoy his music and you want to hear a bit more about him, join us on Friday for our afternoon coverage. He'll be there. And then in Saskatchewan, we've got Zach Schmidt and Mark Friesen, the Patriot, the Patriot Grizzly. He'll be here. Confirmed with him too. He's so busy. But this week we got him to confirm that he's going to be able to make it. So I'm excited about that. Alberta, we have Granny McKay. She's going to give us an update on what's going on with the Coots 4. There's lots happened in the last week since you last saw her. So she'll give us a great update. And I'm excited about this update because we're not as alone anymore when it comes to the media. And she'll explain to you what's going on and who's looking at us now. It's good stuff. So that'll be Alberta. And then in BC, looks like we've got Chris Friesen. He's going to make it. Confirmed with him. He gave me the fire, thumbs up. Everything's good. So we're going to be seeing Chris. And then we're also going to be hearing from our friend, Rule of Law Canada. He's got quite the story. So I'll actually let him let you know what's going on, but this has to do with the BC legal system and parental rights and some troubles. BC's got some things going on. Up in Yukon for the Northwest Territories, we've got Yukon Dan again. No Melissa this week, but Melissa did her homework, got everything ready, handed it to Dan. He's going to be our Dan Rathers, right? He's going to be giving us all the news from the North. And that's our lineup right now. I'm pretty excited to speak to all of them. I'm looking forward to the Manitoba music again. And that might become a thing because Manitoba produces a lot of musicians. So I don't know. Maybe every week we'll be hearing from Manitoba and get some music. Oh, and that reminds me, Winnipeg Alternate Media will be there as well. So Todd will be joining us in Manitoba to give us the news. And Greg will be giving us the music. So what I'm waiting for now is to see where Chris and Morgan are. They'll be joining us very soon. I did get a message from Morgan. She'll be here about 10 after, which is about right time for Nova Scotia. So did you watch your episode this morning for the Coots 4? We're going to cover some things with Granny, but have you been following that coverage? Let me go through the chat and see how you guys are doing. And the first one is Doings. How you doing? By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. Is that a bit of a chant? A bit of a rant? Thank you, Doings. And then Dylan's happy to see you. You got some friends in this crowd. There's some slashes. We're seeing these, right? It's awesome, actually. It means friends, family. It means good things, not bad. Island Jason, you're really becoming a friend. He was ready to go for BC. We'll get him on next week, I believe. But yeah, he's here all the time. And thanks for getting that shout out on Jeremy's show. I appreciate that, Jason. Appreciate that a lot. Hey, John. Now it's time to get sexy with the YYC. You wearing your plaid, John? The wife picked up a couple of these, so I have something a little bit more comfortable and not as warm as the other stuff I was wearing, because we're no longer in that season. So picked up something lighter for you there, John. We'll keep the plaid going. Red, black is a nice color. Dylan, how you doing? You know Jay? He's awesome. I think he's out in BC on the island. We're coast to coast, guys. And we've got friends like this everywhere. Hey, Padge, you're saying good afternoon to everybody. Awesome. Then Dylan's having a good time with Padge. Clay, what do we got here? There we go. A little bit of Coke. Morgan just popped on. She's a little early, too. See what else we got here. Steve, how you doing, bud? Pembroke, Panawawa here. So you're near the base. You're near the military base there in Panawawa. We used to fly over, well, not over it. You can't. It's restricted airspace. But we'd have to fly around it. I think it was Highway 17 or 11 that we would have to stay on the north side of that one. But yeah, cool. Do you have any inside information? We may have a military whistleblower coming up in the next little bit. He's quite persistent, and he may have quite the story. So keep tuned for that, but that'll be in August. And Cindy's saying, hey, Jason. Peace. Nice to see you, Cindy. And John is pretty excited. Has Yukon Dan ever met Yukon Cornelius? I don't know. Try and bring that question up. I'll start for you. But we'll see if we can get that in there for you. And been following morning updates. Good stuff, Yendor. Yeah, it's pretty harsh, but I think we're optimistic and we got some good stuff coming. So you'll know what Granny's going to be talking about. And she's even got more information. And it's been a busy day for her as well. So you'll get an update from her as well. And Island Jason saying, funny how you considered a flannel plaid shirt warm weather attire. Well, that's not for the warm weather. It's for cold weather. That's why I had to get it out and get it off, the flannel one. This is not flannel. So this is just a little bit thin stuff. It's a lot lighter than the flannel one. That's why I'm not wearing that one. And then John says, plaid is our armor, and I'll never let us down. You know what, John? When I learned about this coot stuff, so they had the vest on the table and that picture of crazy things. The vests, we have laws here in Alberta, and if the vests are penetratable, like a bullet or a knife can go through it, it's considered armor, and you have to have a permit for it and get permission for it. But if it doesn't, then you can totally have it. When you think about it, that's a policy to make sure that you're squishy against government guns, because it's not against neighbors. If you had to defend yourself against neighbors, government won't care how many plates are between you and your neighbor. They only care when there's plates between you and them. So they make a law that says you got to be squishy. Think about that. It's kind of weird that we even abide by that law, because the only people that want to squish would be ones that want to hurt us. And if it's the other side, the government, you kind of want a shield, don't you? Anyways, I thought it was kind of peculiar that we have a law against that for that reason. But we are now at the 10-minute mark. I see Morgan. She's got a stunning red hat on too. Hello. Mine's on its way. Mine's on its way. It's coming. How you doing,
Can
Morgan?
you hear me? I'm hoping this mic works.
We hear you just fine.
Nice.
Yes. You sound good.
Yeah, it's not just any Save Canada hat either.
I see some writing on there. Is this somebody signed that, or?
I don't know if you can read it.
Oh, I could kind of make it out. Does it say Josh? What does that say? Or both?
James Top.
Oh, no. Okay, you can retire with that. Put that on eBay later. You're going to do well. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing.
My friend drove from Nova Scotia up to meet and then gave this hat that he signed. Is so sweet.
Yeah, no kidding. That's awesome. You're going to hold on to that one. That's for sure. And how's your week been?
Yeah. fairly boring as per
Fairly
usual.
boring. Did you get another D bank or anything? Because you got one of those recently, didn't you?
Yeah, so I'm learning so much this week. And yeah, on top of that, my car is just really, I'm really being challenged this week, the car and bank situation. Um, I was actually just speaking with the branch manager at credit union in one of the credit unions in Alberta. I was sent in
ATB
that
or
direction. Now,
service?
what's that? Volume up, sorry.
No problem. I was going to say
Oh,
ATB or
it's the
service.
Bow Valley. Yeah, no, the Bow Valley Credit Union. And yeah, they sent me some really interesting information to learn about rights for banking in Canada. Someone
Okay.
denies you service, they need to send it in writing and they need to tell you why. And that's
Yes.
what I haven't really received yet from either Scotiabank or the East Coast Credit Union in Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. Now, for credit union, they did tell me, they said it's something to do with your pending charges assessing as the chief health officer's home, which I thought
But
was
why would that
interesting.
matter for your why because to clarify to some people, the big banks are their charter banks, Canadian charter banks under federal charter. And under those, they actually fall under the charter rules. You can't remove service based on a whole bunch of protected grounds. So you have to be very, very specific and clear on
Hmm.
how and why you're denying that service. And I saw your letter. There was no explanation there.
Right.
So that's what you're talking about. Like you have no
Right. So, and
justification.
I did receive, yeah, sorry, we got a little lag, I think, but I did
Hmm.
receive a phone call as well that I recorded and posted. It's about 10 minutes long, where they did tell me the same, that they were not going to give me a reason and that my next steps were to basically file a dispute within Scotiabank. And then after that, when it obviously isn't resolved, to go to the ombudsman, file a complaint. And yeah, then I don't know if it becomes a human rights issue, being denied
It'd be a
service
charter.
in
It'd be a
such a
charter application.
just a charter application. Yeah,
No, sorry, there is a delay there. You
yeah,
continue. I'll
no,
just
yeah, no. So now I'm just kind of weighing all my options. Like learning about some things that aren't the top five or what have you. Thankfully, my mortgage is through a different banking institution. However, I expect that will be next. Thankfully, I recently remortgaged and locked it in for about 5 years, so I'm good for a little bit.
yeah, hopefully.
As
So
it,
if you move
Jeremy
your
is as well until about 2024.
for sure, and
Oh.
maybe if you move your bank account to Alberta, then maybe you'll follow your bank account. What do you say to that?
Yeah, so sorry, I meant to say, if you're not, the thing with credit union is that you need to be from Alberta in order to have a bank account with them.
So are you thinking about moving to Alberta to have a bank account, or you were just looking for information and they provided some good information to you?
No, don't to put the universe, because I know Jeremy would go in a heartbeat. I mean, if we could move his curfew and surety and all that. But yeah, it's not something I do not want to move. My family is on a remote island in New Brunswick. I
Hmm.
don't want to be further away from them. So unless I can scoop up all of my entire family, which likely isn't going to happen,
Well, I don't know. If you
I'm
keep
probably
talking
going to
like
stay
that, there's a
here.
lot of people that may help you. And if we have to, we'll pick up the house. So he's still under house arrest. We'll just physically move the house so he's not breaking any rules. All right.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead with the news, because if you're not moving to Alberta yet, that's not news yet. But you collected a bunch of
Yeah.
information all over the Maritimes for us, didn't you?
Well, I did a much better job last week, and there haven't been too many extra events added since then, since I think it was Paul read off my upcoming event, but I'll do a little reminder for people.
That would be wonderful.
What do I have? So I have this pinned on my Facebook, which is, I've changed my Facebook name. It's no longer Morgan May Dag Queen Store Time. It's just Morgan May, a little more diplomatic. And under, I have a pinned post where I post all my maritime freedom lover events. So the first one I have here is it's Saturday, July 15th, 1 p.m. in St. Stephen, New Brunswick. And it says no digital ID barbecue and walk for freedom. That's through Scott Stewart, I believe, who's doing a lot of work in New Brunswick. I list my upcoming court dates, which I have an application date coming up on the 19th for protesting at the Chief Medical Health Officer's home. Okay. Oh, that's a duplication. There's a Moncton Terror meetup and potluck and barbecue for Diagolon fans, August 12th at 12:30 p.m. Centennial Park. I actually want to get down to that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be, and it's always nice to meet new dags. And we're still meeting at the malls. So ever since the proof of vaccination rollout, we started doing picnics in the streets. And then once they removed the proof of vaccination requirement, we did continue. We started going to the mall meetups, alternate every Friday between the Halifax Shopping Center and Micmac Mall, and it's always 6 to 9 p.m. And so this Friday, July 14th, they're going to be meeting at the Halifax Shopping Center. I ask everyone to try to wear like fringe wear or something that stands out because nobody's wearing masks anymore. It's not as easy to find our group.
Right.
What else? Oh, there's also a PPD event. And it's called Guns and Buns. I think I heard you guys laughing about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
And July 15th, 10 to 3 p.m. Yeah. And I think that there is a charge for that one. It says tickets are $25. Youth and first-time firearm users encouraged. Firearm operation and safety training provided. Assortment of firearms available for use. Youth 13 and under are free.
Nice.
And then this one is exciting. I kind of want to get it. So it's called the Defen Bunker. They have like a nuclear bunker in Debert, Nova Scotia. And so this event is going to be Sunday, August 20th at 1 p.m. And it's called We Are Ready, Reloaded and Enter the Bunker is what it's called. So yeah, on all my social media pages, I try to pin all of the upcoming events because I think right now, one of the most important things that we can do is be getting together regularly to talk about ongoing issues and work towards solutions.
Yeah. And are you going to be at any of those events?
I do think I'll go to the Moncton Terror meetup. I try to go to the mall, but I don't usually make it out to the Halifax Shopping Center. But I really want to make it to the Defen Bunker. I haven't been there yet, and I missed their first. So yeah, I really want to make that happen. It's so difficult to juggle with work. Like even this, I was literally like asked my boss just for half an hour off. He's so good. Yeah, no. So yeah, there's a lot going on. So this is crazy news.
Go on.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. I don't know 100% for sure yet, but Paul Westhaver and Peter McIsaac are working their charm and trying to convince me to run as an independent for the bottom 7-Eleven. And I think that I might do it.
Oh yes. Well, great news. Let me get this going. I got an icon for that. Hold on. Special announcement. There we go. That's excellent news. So this is a provincial level position that you're going to be running for. And can you tell everybody
Yeah,
where you're going
and
to run in Nova Scotia?
well, I think we need to work all that out, but I assume it would be in Cole Harbor. Now, there's a lot of people I've talked to before I finalized this decision. I realized like I would not be doing it. Would not be like officially campaigning. I don't think I would be going into it knowing that I might and likely would not win, but that I could votes away from maybe some people that I don't like.
Okay.
So yeah, and actually I wish I had brought up the link for this, but in 1994, the union workers were protesting, and a lot of them took. They were very conservative, but a bunch of union members apparently ran as liberals, and they just infiltrated, and
Mm-hmm.
it seemed to work. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you could get away with that nowadays, but and I mean, yeah, the problem, of course, is that you're subject to being kicked out of your party. So I think if I were to do it, I would just stick with the going the independent route. I'm very hard to. I'm stubborn, and it's hard. Nobody tells me to. So if I had to try to censor myself, that would be very difficult.
For sure. And I think people will connect better with you as an independent because you have to get through that party politics as well. And you're more of an independent representative anyways. You've always been independent and representing. So I think you're going to do quite well, actually.
Yeah. It would be interesting, you know. I don't. I mean, they might Google me, you know, and but I think if you know when I actually speak to in my job, I speak to a lot of the people in the left or more people who are more left leaning politically, and they can't believe, and it just really opens their eyes. I usually send them in uh, and the website like last week, and he was like, I'm gonna write that down right now. And I was like, you do that, you go look at all the government information and data that we've put up on this website that you are not going to see anywhere else. You're not going to see it in mainstream media. And yeah, so
Absolutely.
I don't
And
know,
are you going to continue to do
this
some of
month
this
is going to be
reporting stuff?
interesting. um I'm not sure. I might just keep trying to do it. Like we're leveling up. I have a little microphone now. um
And
yeah,
I'll tell you why
it's something
I say
that
that. Because one of the
yeah, go
things that
ahead.
I did as an independent is it's allowed me to meet so many people, talk to people, all sides, practice that, and it's also helping me learn a bunch of stuff. So it's getting me really connected to the news and what's going on. So when you do like an interview show or a news show or a podcast, it kind of makes you stay on top of things and get yourself out there. So it might be an excellent way for you to go
Mhm.
ahead and build a base that way.
Yeah, and there are so many Canadians that I would like to speak to anyway. And I've always said that I want it to focus more on those who have been injured by the vaccine and get their stories out there. And it just hasn't come to fruition because I have a million tabs open in my brain at all times and many different battles and trying to figure out which battle is most important. But those stories are heartbreaking, and I would like to focus on those who were coerced or forced to get the experimental what do you call it, drugs against their will,
Drugs.
and
Yeah.
now they're seeing the repercussions. Yeah, you just people, the regular public, are not hearing those stories.
Well, let me connect you with Carrie Sakamoto and Eva Chipowicz out here in Alberta. She's the one that filed the $10.5 million
Mhm.
vaccine injury lawsuit against the government of Canada and CBC and others for misinformation and
Mhm.
negligence. So I can connect you with them if you want to start staying on top of that issue.
Yeah, I think that would be great, and I'd love to know more about her. It's something that I've seen floating around that I haven't had time to dig into what her reactions were, and I hope she's successful. I know at one point they were giving out um, money for people who had adverse reactions. But the hard part is, of course, getting your doctor to acknowledge those adverse reactions and what the root cause is.
Well, the good news is I did do an interview with her when she announced it. So there's a 45-minute interview where we cover all of that. And she is a recipient of the government injury program. So she has already been confirmed by all the necessary people, including the government. And she has received a payout. This isn't a payout related. This is because of the negligence and the misinformation that allowed her and caused her to take it in the first place. That's what the lawsuit's about. And she needs lots of detox and recovery efforts, and it's not covered. A lot of this is not covered under the Canadian system.
Right, and then they're not that, and then they're trying to make that worse by taking away natural medicine as well. And I think we'll see that within the next couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll have Dr. Peter McCullough on the 28th of July, and that one's about vaccine detox. So that entire episode is about this as well, to help people who decided or had to take it, what they can do today to help minimize and mitigate any damages.
Yeah, I have, I always share, I have way too many Instagram pages because they have different focuses, and one of them I think is called Morgan's Autoimmune Adventure, and I have listed different protocols that I've come across for vaccine adverse reactions on there. There, you know, like things like nattokinase, pine needle tea, NAC, hydroxychloroquine. I'm trying to find it now. I forget. There's a whole, you know, but at least there are things that people can do. Ivermectin, like I said before, has improved my health greatly.
Yeah, that'd be great if you can take that up in addition to your independent running. But yeah, if you were following vaccine harm, that's going to be a thing for years.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry everybody, but it's starting to happen now. We're getting more and more cases of it. It's getting severe. People nearer and nearer to you are having it. So before it used to be someone in a different province. Now it's basically your aunts and uncles are getting it. So it's a very important issue. It's still being suppressed on YouTube, so we can't go too much into what that is.
I think
especially around
communities are. Oh, sorry. This
no,
the lag problem. Where I come from, the island that I grew up on, the population is about 2,500 people, and they are very attuned to what is a normal death rate on the island, and it's exceeding normal rates, of course, and it's alarming, and it's younger people than is typical. And so yeah, I think the small communities are really noticing it the most because they're so connected, and they just know what to expect, and this is out of the ordinary, unfortunately. And the way that people are dying, you know, and just with the exacerbated cancers and sudden deaths, and just in people who weren't sick, you know. Yeah, no, it's disturbing, and like you said, it's something that how do you mentally prepare for it?
Well, I've been calling for that for about a year now. So if you look at my videos with SAM, Students Against Mandates last year, this is a part of it, because I was worried at some point in the near future, those who did the vaccine, which is a large percentage, they're going to go through a few things, not just vaccine harm, but mental anguish as well, depression. A lot of them forced other people to take it, to make it to Christmas. You had to take it. So there's going to be a lot of mothers and aunts and people like that are going to feel some remorse around that. So what I hope is that us could be strong enough to help them through this, because we don't need 60% of our economy just crumbling into depression. That would be a pill for disaster. So hopefully with your reporting and other people doing this kind of thing, we can bring awareness to detox and recovery so we can help some people here. Yeah, sorry, that seems a little
there's
somber
also
now, but
no, yeah, I do think we're going to see people go through like the full 7 stages of grief, and it gets kind of ugly at the end of those when you're angry.
It's time to do the relay.
I didn't even include. I meant to ask where. Yeah, we lost Chris Deering, I guess, this week.
Oh, sorry. So no, I got a message. Chris had some pain issues, so he reached out and he has to address his pain issues. This happens. Okay, so we're cool with
Okay.
that, and we'll try again next week with him. But I did get a message from his wife.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, she's
Okay,
a very
yeah.
nice
Well, I
lady.
guess
So she reached out.
I'm in the torch.
Yeah, if you can pass the torch, and today, or yeah, what we'll do
Oh, yeah.
is
She's sweet.
sharing voices will be the relay. So we're gonna be sharing voices from coast to coast this week.
Right on. Well, I'm passing the torch over to you, Kevin. I want a torch. I really want a torch. I'll remember
We'll leave
it one
that
of
up to
these
you. You
weeks.
can, excellent,
I
excellent.
will.
Thank you very much, Morgan.
I'll come with a tiki torch next time. Thank you.
And I hope your car troubles go away very soon. You take care.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Hey, Kevin, how you doing, bud?
Doing pretty good. Today was a pretty good rebound for me. So, spirits are up. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So you're gonna let everybody know if this is dating, financial, basketball. What are you talking about here?
Just, in the markets, my usual, day trading sort of thing. As everybody knows who's watched it, I'm pretty heavy into gold, and, gold had a pretty good day today. So, I'm a happy camper right now.
That's excellent. So when the world has some troubles, the price of gold goes up. Is that kind of how that works?
Well, the economic data that came out was, and I knew it was coming, right? That's why, I went into gold for this specific reason, is that, inflation is going to start coming down. And, I saw the trend start like last month, right? Reports of inflation creeping down. And then the big data that was coming out of the United States today was the CPI data, so the Consumer Price Index. And so basically I took a bet saying that, the CPI would come lower than expected, which would, reduce the investors' optimism or, thoughts on increasing interest rates from the Fed in the next meeting, which would put pressure on the U.S. dollar and which would, bring U.S. Treasury bond yields down, which would cause the price of gold to go up. And so my bet was right, and that's exactly what happened.
Oh, well done on making the right bet on that one, because as you said, you're heavy in gold, and that will help your portfolio a lot. Now, how is that? Can we add that to the Quebec situation at all? Like what's going on with Quebec?
To be honest with you, like even though I am from Quebec, I don't really follow too much Quebec politics. Like I barely speak French, right? So I like to look at Canada as a whole and what's going on. And I think the biggest issue right now that is concerning Canadians is again another interest rate hike coming from the Bank of Canada, and that happened today, where they pushed overnight lending rates to 5%, which means that if you're going to go to refinance your mortgage, you're going to get 5% plus whatever the bank will charge on top of the overnight lending rate. So you're looking at 6.5, 6.7% to refinance your mortgage, when a lot of these people that they've had like maybe 5-year fixed terms, they could have been paying 2 to 3%. So now their interest rates are going to be doubling moving into this next refinancing program, which is basically going to take another big chunk of money in discretionary income off of the table. So not only do we have rising food prices, not only do we have rising energy prices, now we have rising interest rates on the backs of a rising inflationary environment. So it just seems that it is a attack on the middle class and lower income people from multiple areas. And the economic outlook of this, it's really not that good. But unfortunately, this is some of the pain that we're going to have to go through, because we never really solved any of the problems from 2000, 2008, 2019. All we did was more of the same, expand the currency supply, suppress interest rates, and blow bubbles. And we really had the opportunity to live a higher standard of living because of that. But at the end of the day, the piper does get paid, and now is the time to pay the piper.
Yeah, and that's going to hurt everybody. So Quebec and as well as the rest of Canada. And now, are you a fan of Aaron Gunn? Have you watched this?
No, I haven't watched any of his stuff.
Okay. Check out his latest video. So he did Canada is Dying not too long ago. Got a lot of press because it was a very good documentary about the drug problem in Western Canada and stuff. Check out his latest one too, because this has a big connection to Quebec, where it's Fractured Nation about the pillaging of Western Canada, how Canada from Confederation and on was designed and built so that the East is taking from the West, and with the equalization payments and stuff like that with Quebec, which, as he described in this movie, it causes Quebec to basically not want to do it, like de-incentivizes them to go ahead and work with their resources and bring it to market. So if you haven't seen this yet, for the people watching, check it out, because it opened up my eyes on quite a few different issues, like the Reform Party and the role they played and stuff like that. So you are aware of how, since Confederation, Quebec has like 3 members on the Supreme Court, and that's like part of the Constitution.
Yeah, and I'm also aware that Pierre Elliott Trudeau, I believe it was Trudeau, that basically gave Quebec its own federal party just to appease them, right, with the Bloc Québécois. So they're a federal party, but nobody outside of Quebec can vote for them. It really doesn't make sense. And they have their own constitution, they have their own tax code. You have CPP, they have QPP. So they're already really set up to be their own individual nation if they really wanted to break away. But the only thing that's keeping them still attached to Canada is all the benefits that Ottawa throws to them, and for whatever reason that might be, right? And yeah, so that is, and you know what, I lived through the referendums in the 90s, and that was one of the reasons why I did, like, my family was young back then. That's why my family decided to move to Ontario and get away from Quebec. But a few years later, I ended up just finding myself right back here.
Okay, and well, take us through the referendum thing, because how did that affect you at the time when you were doing that?
Well, I was only like 11 at the time, so I don't really have that much memory of it. But all I remember is political turmoil, and the vote. It was basically a 50-50 vote, right? Like it was 51-49. It was like split right down the middle. And I guess my parents, they were just tired with the Quebec politics. So my dad, who was working with an oil company at the time, he ended up getting a job with the RCMP. In Ontario, and then we moved to Ontario, and then my mom followed along, and she got a job with Honda, and they've been in Ontario ever since.
Now, one of the things I learned from this video was Quebec banned all natural resources, like for oil and gas exploration and extraction. Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't aware of that, but that doesn't surprise me. And another thing that doesn't surprise me is, I heard rumors of all these Quebec forest fires, and a lot of them are on the borderlines of huge lithium deposits, right? That China owns the mineral rights to. So that's a really great way to clear forest and expand your mining operation, and then blame it on climate change, while giving China the green light to extract more resources at our expense.
Wow, so there's a whole bunch of benefits to having those fires set. Clear some land, blame it on climate change. I'm sure Trump had something to do with it. They'll blame him for something.
Yep.
Yep.
Stephen Harper was out there with his match too.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, well, not Harper, but Pierre. So you saw Pierre with the T-shirt thing, where somebody had a picture with him with a T-shirt, and then Pierre's comment after that. Did you catch that?
Well, I don't really follow Pierre too much, because he reminds me of Milhouse from The Simpsons. But
Right.
That being said, right, he put himself out there, and then what did he do? He apologized to the woke mob once again. So if this is a test for what this guy is going to be as a prime minister, it's not looking good, because all he's saying is that, yes, the media controls the narrative, and I'm going to submit to whatever you say. So I have a huge problem with Pierre, and honestly, I don't even think he's going to make it to. I don't even think he's going to be the next prime minister, because this is just speculation on my part, and I've said this before, but I don't think that Trudeau is going to make it to 2025. I think there's going to be, he's going to have an event where he's going to, decide to spend more time with his family. Basically pushed out of the party because his popularity in the party is at record lows, right? So it's hurting the party. And then somebody else like Mark Carney, that I mentioned before, is going to throw their hat in the ring. They're going to become the Liberal leader, and with Mark Carney as Liberal leader, they're going to march to a Liberal majority, and Pierre is just going to get the boot like O'Toole and Scheer did. And with Chrystia Freeland, a lot of people say, she's going to be. I think she's going to take on a full-time position as on the board of the WEF. So that's where I think that Chrystia Freeland is going to go.
Really? Okay, the board of WEF, I get that one for sure. I do agree with you that they might be dumping Trudeau for sure. I don't know if I understand how Mark could get a whole bunch more support to take it from a majority government or a minority to a majority. Where would that support come from?
Well, they've run polls in the past, right? And he has a huge. So the Mark Carney following and fan base, like right now, is similar to Trudeau's, following in 2015. So. Okay. He's got a lot of popularity amongst the Liberals, and a lot of the Liberals that didn't really participate in the last election, because voter turnout was at near record lows. Most people decided to stay home because they didn't like their team or they didn't like any options. But if you put in a new face that somebody has, he was the Bank of Canada governor, he was the Bank of England governor, he was involved with SGGs with the United Nations. So he already has a lot of political clout in the minds of Liberal supporters. So if you put a fresh face like him in, people will be more excited to go, especially Liberal voters will be more excited to go to the ballot box. And you'll have an uptick in Conservative voters too, because they'll be like, oh, we can't let this guy in. So Conservative vote percentage will probably increase as well as Liberals, but at the end of the day, I truly believe that he'll edge them out, and because the electorate isn't set for a Conservative to win, especially a majority, right? It was just a fluke that Harper won a majority that one time, but the best a Conservative government can do is win a minority, because the Atlantic provinces, they generally vote Liberal. Newfoundland and New Brunswick is split, and then Quebec, you have the bloc that takes some away from the Conservatives, and Montreal votes Liberal, and then once you move into Toronto, they split with the NDP, and then in Vancouver the same thing. So the only real stronghold for the Conservatives is in the prairies, and their seat count is really low in comparison to the population when you compare it to other regions. So it really isn't set up for a Conservative government to win. And if they do win, it'll be a minority that usually fails within 18 to 24 months, because that's how long a minority government historically lasts. This one is going to last a little bit longer because Jagmeet Singh's NDP is broke, and they really can't trigger an election because they can't afford it.
Well, I guess it will depend on what takes them down. So if there's a particular type of scandal that they can't control the narrative of, it might be too big, and then it might be a lot of pushback to the entire party. But if it's something that they can control the narrative of, and he has like a graceful exit, and then they break Mark in, then maybe I can see how the Conservatives wouldn't rile up and deal with it in the next election. But if, for example, if it turns out the Coots-For thing is what triggers this whole domino to fall and they remove him, that might be something. Like I think it depends what takes him out or what causes him to leave.
Yeah, I agree with you, because Jean Chrétien's government with ad scam, right? That took out, basically collapsed the Liberal Party for almost a decade, and they didn't really regain themselves until Justin Trudeau came in almost a decade later. So it does depend on what's going to take him down, but I truly believe that it is in the best interest of the system, and I'm talking about not the people but the system, to put somebody like Mark Carney in, because he's an advocate for central banking digital currencies. Like, let's be honest, Mark Carney would be the absolute worst choice possible, and that's why I think he's going to win, just by looking at everything that's happened over the last 3 years. And I hate to be like a cynic, but it's more of a realist. Look at the worst possible possible person that could ever be elected, and they're probably going to win.
Right, and because that's probably by design. They're taking this like lily pads one step at a time towards, exactly where they want to go with this. Now, someone just reminded me, you had a bit of a ratio today. You ratioed somebody. Do you want to tell people what ratio means for those who don't know it? And who was it?
It's just on Twitter. Ratio means when like the OP, so the original poster, makes a comment, and then somebody in the comment section has more likes, retweets, comments, or reactions than the original poster. So in this case, it was Jagmeet Singh, and he was talking about greedy CEOs, causing all this inflation, and he's the only one that is going to stand up to corporate Canada, and Justin Trudeau isn't going to do anything about it, so we can't count on the Liberals. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy is propping up the Liberal government, and then he's bashing them at the same time. So that's an intellectually dishonest argument. But basically what I said to his comment was that I'm sick of people with $40,000-$50,000 watches, $150,000 cars that really produce nothing, that try to tell us what the problems of society are. Because in reality, they're the problems, right? They're the ones that never took a paycheck. They never, were threatened with job loss. In fact, they gave themselves all raises, right? As they trampled on the rights and freedoms of millions of people. So they patted themselves on the back, gave them pay raises, and increased taxes on the general population. So to me, it's them that are the problem. Stop pointing your finger at everybody else, and start pointing your finger at yourself, because you're the problem for this this crazy society that we're living in. It's the government, and it's the people that enable them.
Yeah, and the mixed messages, like he has no idea what he's talking about when he says people are suffering or anything along those lines. He has no clue. And yeah, $50,000 watch, jeez, that would feed a family for a year, no problem.
Yeah, who knows with Jag, right? It's a gold Rolex, right? And they're not cheap. And he drives a 6 Series BMW. They're like $140,000, $150,000. Every time he goes out in public, he's wearing a $3,000 suit, Armani suit or Versace suit. Canada Goose jackets, $2,500 jackets. Like, this guy tries to represent himself as like the man of the struggling class. Meanwhile, he probably eats caviar and lobster every day. Pop champagne. That's why they call him a champagne socialist.
And I understand that it also looks like your ratio was a little bit larger than Viva's. Not that we're measuring ratios too much here, but somebody brought that up.
Yeah, I'm outperforming Viva Frey on that comment, which is pretty impressive, considering he's got like 10 times the the followers as me. But I just spoke my mind, and I guess people gravitated towards it.
Well, yours was cutting and intelligent for sure. Like, if you read your stuff, it's got intelligence behind it. His was more cutting and rude, like name calling almost. So that works for some people. And look at Padge is very pleased with you. Our own Kevin's out doing Jag and Viva. Right on, buddy. And guess who just joined us? Hi, Maggie. Hi, you caught you. You were looking at something. Hello, Maggie. Welcome. You're representing Ontario for us this week.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hi.
Good
And I'm
to
really
see you
excited.
again.
You too. And I'm really excited about your update, because I've been following some more of your stuff since we last spoke. So, Kevin, you know who Meg is? Did you get a chance to watch your interview?
No, I haven't been paying too much attention to YouTube and stuff this last week. I've been, really focused on the markets and, giving that my wholehearted attention. So I haven't really been, looking at anything else.
No problem. So Maggie is the one who was put down by gunpoint at the convoy when she was trying to pray for the police. And then more recently, she's been speaking in Peterborough about, Daisy just joined. And she's been joining us in Peterborough. She's been doing a lot of work in Peterborough to attack the agenda. So she's been wide open about the agenda, talking about the agenda. And really, if you get a chance, go check out her TikTok about this. It is astonishing how much she was able to say to them without them taking her out. But she really is exposing everything. And she also had a bomb threat Canada Day. So it might have been related to her speech, might not, we don't know. but she had the bomb team outside her house on Canada Day. So
It's crazy.
not as exciting as the market, I guess, but she's been busy.
Sounds like that. So I guess it's time for me to pass the torch, right? And the torch is unity. No, was that last week?
Yeah, sharing voices.
Oh, sharing voices. Yeah, so I don't know, keep it going, and do what you do, and just bring awareness to everything that's going on, and the more people that we can talk to, and the more people that we can reach, it's going to have a domino effect, and at the end of the day, it's us that's going to win, right? We just have to put in the time and the effort. That's the voice that I want to share.
Excellent. So thank you, Quebec, and we're passing it on to Ontario now. Take care, Kevin. We'll see you next week. Hello, Ontario. And of course, we got two people who were walking around Ottawa with one of those special days. And yeah, this is a real pleasure and treat to have both of you on today. Thank you very much for joining. How are you doing, Maggie?
I'm doing very good. Well, I don't know, maybe not so good, but when you have a really good week, a lot of bad things want to happen. So we just have to be aware of that this is a psychological warfare. And the more good we do, the more we can expect a few things to happen. So
absolutely, when you're over the target with the truth bombs, they come out harsh, and you're not wrong about that. It seems like karma or something. When you have an excellent pinnacle week, count on 1 week later. Just tread lightly 1 week later. I've noticed that pattern sometimes too.
Really good to stay focused on what is positive and put the rest aside. And it's good to be on here with Chris. Good to see you, Chris.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good to see you.
Hey, Chris. Yeah, long time no see, right? We just saw you yesterday, but you made it up to the cabin. So are you outside of Ottawa?
Yeah. I'm just in Lanark here by the lake, so it's nice. I needed to get away for a few days, so this is beautiful. I'm just unwinding. And Maggie's absolutely right. Like when something even before, like I know as soon as I'm going to do something big, like I prepare for the attacks every time, and that's one of the ways you're onto something big too. And when the attacks get crazier.
Yeah, absolutely. They even attacked your Rumble video, dude. So yeah, we have to clean up that as well. But yeah, they're out there for sure. Yeah, no. If we're not being attacked, I don't think we're doing anything right. I think that's kind of the message here. If we're not being attacked and they like us, we're doing something wrong here. So Maggie, I'm going to come right back to you now and kind of give us a bit of an update from your perspective, how things have been, and then we'll jump over to Chris and see how he's been.
Yeah, so from what I've been working on from this level, I've been looking at and talking to various organizations from across the country that are really trying to pull the grassroots together to help us understand as a movement and as even the local people in our area. The majority of people know that things have become very corrupt, that the government isn't working for us, that we've lost control. But at the same time, from my perspective, there's a lot more we can do from a civil duty, civil responsibility model. And so I'm looking at different organizations and starting to feel really comfortable with certain ones and that have the potential to help us to get better organized and have the administration in place so that we can interact with our local politicians, interact with our local government in more effective ways, educating them. I don't think a lot of them really understand what's happened to this country. Some of them do and some of them don't. But as far as what I shared, that one little piece about the UN takeover, I don't think that at the municipal level, many of them are aware of the fact that there's been this insidious restructuring of our local governments, and of course that's across the board. So I'll be having meetings with those organizations this week and really trying to pull together the thinkers from across the country so that we can actually put something forward that will be effective for the people and, completely non-political, but at the same time political. So, but creating a stronger connections within our network, and what you're doing by sharing these voices is a huge part of that as well.
Awesome. And I think that's a great plan, because now you're getting other organizations, you're talking to organizations, you're building your network right now with existing networks as well.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
these networks have the capability, whereas I'm a single person. And when I created my network and newsletter, it was shut down in 1 month. So I'm a little discouraged by that. But at the same time, there's people who have all of this in place already, that we don't have to reinvent everything. We need to work together, and anyone who doesn't want to work together, that's okay. There's hundreds of people who can work together, and those are the people that we need to pull together at this point.
Absolutely. The path to unity requires unity along the way. So even working together on resources and skills and stuff like that.
Yes.
Absolutely. And Chris, I'm going to bring you in now. So you've been busy as well. You're on a bit of a break now because you had some interviews and you've been hanging out in the streets and you've been running around. So why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to?
Yeah, I've been busy like crazy actually. It's given me a bit of a break now that the House of Commons has let out. But I was down there giving those guys the gears for quite a while. And then there was quite an interesting story recently with an Afghan interpreter that I met down there named Abdullah was begging for help from the government. They had all promised to help save his family that they're actively being hunted basically by the Taliban.
Right.
They've fled to Pakistan, but they don't have standing there. So if they're caught there, they'd be sent back to Afghanistan and I mean murdered at best, I guess. So that was kind of a big, took up quite a bit of my time, was not recently. And then obviously the stuff with Save Canada keeps me pretty busy. We've been doing lots of protests. Been meeting a lot with different members of the Muslim community here in Ottawa too, and making some connections there. So a lot going on. And then I'm hitting the road soon. So that's kind of, it's interesting what you say there, Maggie, because I'm kind of in a bubble here in Ottawa to some degree. I've been making a lot of different connections, but I hear of things going on different places, and I want to get across and talk to people face to face. There's a lot of really important stuff, and people are doing some incredible work. And I have a bit of a platform and a bit of a voice. I'd like to highlight some of that stuff and make connections where I can. So I'm just one guy, but I can amplify some stuff other people are doing maybe, and connect some people and learn along the way, hopefully.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure if you caught the announcement, Maggie and Chris, but Morgan May, she just announced that she's running as an independent for the provincial election in Nova Scotia. And Chris, she was wearing the Save Canada hat signed by James Top. So when she made that announcement, James was there supporting her on that one.
Oh, that's incredible. Maggie, yeah, I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah, well, there you go. This is a news show, so we're here to spread the news. So she opened up the show with that announcement that she's running as an independent in the next Nova Scotia election. Yes.
I did catch that. That's very good. So what I want to help do is get the groundwork done so that we can win these seats. I ran in 2011. I think I got about 2% of the vote. And ever since then, that's a pretty common pattern for people who are running for what we run for. And to me, it says we have to do the groundwork. So some of the organizations I'm working with, and I'll announce it next week, which ones that I'm going to join personally and get behind. And each one is a different piece of the puzzle, so they're all important in my opinion. But we can be more politically active and get it together. Countries like Sweden, their people are very politically active, and they do keep things in check, or at least they've had more progress in that than the rest of our countries in the Western world. So we can follow the effective strategies, and it really comes down to us networking. And so like you said, Chris, you meet a lot of people, and is connecting those super nodes together at this point and really finding who has the leading edge ideas on how we can move this forward, and bringing those effective strategies across the country into every riding. And people are talking a lot about a door-to-door campaign. So I'm really hoping that we can put something together that will be effective at that level. So it's one-on-one, person to person. That's how we're going to change it.
And I may be biased because I'm running as an independent, but it's starting to look like it might be a good time to be an independent. So there's a lot of people frustrated with Pierre, and the PPC, they did a lot of number crunching, and a lot of their support is coming out of the NDP and the Liberal parties, and a lot of parents are leaving those two parties as well because of a lot of the stuff around children. And there's a bit of a movement, not necessarily towards CPC, but towards non-CPC. And then another large section that we might be able to get to the ballot boxes this time are the non-voters or never voters. It's still a third of the country that haven't done that. You put all of that together and you get some good independents across Canada. You get a team of like 12 independents. You end up becoming the swing vote between, especially in a house that's very close. So you have a minority government. Those little group of independents become very powerful because both parties have to vie for their support on votes. And if they're strictly voting for the constituents, those ridings become very powerful ridings for the entire country. So that's why I think if you find yourself a really good independent, that riding could get behind it because they understand you're not a backbencher here. You are supporting somebody who is right in the middle and will provide the right votes at the right time. And it feels like that might be the right time. Like Pierre is saying some things that's upsetting even diehard conservatives. And it's going to be hard to vote Liberal this time around. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. Chris, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think about that kind of assessment? Do you think independents might have a little bit more support this time around?
Yeah, we actually touched a little briefly on that yesterday, but I'm kind of the thinking that if there was ever a time for independence, I don't think I would have said there was before, but now if there was ever a time, now is the time. Um, and if a few people could get in, it wouldn't take a huge number. Like look how much power the NDP have right now, because they can swing that vote, right? And
Right.
With the way Pierre and the Conservatives are, not just Pierre, but I mean the Conservatives in general, um, they're a lot better maybe than the Liberals, but they are losing support, I think, at an alarming rate, and they will continue to do that because they don't seem to have much of a backbone. So,
Yeah.
like you say, if it would have to, these grassroots, you'd have to be pounding the pavement, knocking on doors, talking to people. But there's definitely an opportunity, I think, here now that maybe there never really has been before, and we've seen some of that in other countries, right? So, and there are people involved, I'm sure, in all of this. You guys would know better than me, but there's people that have done this kind of stuff that know how to do these door
Mhm.
campaigns and letter writing and pounding the pavements.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we might have just lost him there, Maggie, for a second. But he's not wrong. There's other people that have done this before, municipal level, provincial level.
Yeah.
And I'm not
There's
sure.
also
Go ahead, Chris. We may have lost him again. So I'm
oh
just
yeah, hey, yeah, okay, I think I'm
you
back.
back? Yeah. Caesar's
Yeah.
going to let you finish,
There's
I think. So go ahead. Oh, maybe not. I shouldn't have invoked their name. So I'm just going to go to you, Maggie, again, and then we'll see if his connection comes back a little bit more stable. But yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think it could be a good time for independence as well?
Absolutely. And in Ontario, we have a lot of people that are coming together for that purpose right now. So the independent, I was just looking it up, Independent Ontario 2026, if people want to look that up. We are pulling together independent candidates and having them run at any election level they possibly can. So if there's a municipal, we'll run them. And to get several in each riding running together.
Mhm.
So we start to overtake the voice. And so Independent Ontario 2026, to join that team across the country so we can participate in our civil duties at that level and do it together and have some fun with it, and get our voices out there now. So
Absolutely. I like a coalition of independent. It's not a party, so you don't
Mhm.
register as a party. There's no EDAs or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just straight up independence. And having a single platform where we're all hosted and where we have our message, why not? But yeah, I'd get behind that 100%. I like that idea.
And to realize, we're not going to win this straight out of the gate. We need practice. We've shuffled off our civil duties and to an organization that's been heavily, I don't know what to call it. It's not working for us anymore, and
It's
so
time.
it's
It's
time for
time.
us to step up and say, okay, we're going to go and do it together and get the people behind us and realize it's not going to be easy. And at the same time, if we can organize ourselves 20 to 100 people in each riding, and we can get more than that, But if we can start small and build from there and be organized, we will make a difference, because that's what they are. They're an organized network. We need to be an organized network too, and have a goal and understand how they're dividing us and become wise to that, so we can put a stop to that and move forward together. So
100%, the unity is the key to this one as well. So you'll unify on the riding level, you'll unify with the resources, you'll get behind one good candidate. And what I think is going to happen this time around is we're going to pull out more non-traditional candidates, but they're very, very good candidates. So they're in tune with their community, they want to do the right thing. And I love that idea of attracting some more people out of the woodwork into politics. So I think that might be a good way to do that, by having a unified platform. So Chris, I think you're right. The balance of power is currently with the NDP. So if the balance of power could be moved to a small little group of independents, you think that could maybe help maybe shepherd or steer the Conservative Party back to a little bit more conservative type of things? Because they would need to have to work and cooperate, right?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it would make probably MPs in general would be more considered. It would set a very good example, right? Not only would there be powers, so they would have to get that group to play along. Otherwise, it would be pretty easy to topple a government. But it might give some conservatives, maybe they'd start sticking up for their constituents too in their own ridings. It's hard to say, but I mean, I think only good could come of it, really.
You make
Getting people involved there's so many people that are wondering what to do. Like, I have so many followers with so many different skills and sets and different kinds of people who they all want to help and they all want to be involved. And with these, in any level of politics, really, in any of these campaigns, there's so many great jobs that would need to be done, right? So there's an opportunity then to give somebody with some clear goals, and people can start doing things, and we can feel like we're making a difference instead of standing there yelling at a building or freaking out with we need to feel like we have a plan, and a lot of people are looking for that next step, right? We have to evolve and we have to figure out what's next, and I think that at every level of politics, but start small, school boards, locally, and work, right? We're going to learn along the way. We're going to grow our networks, and I think it could snowball from there. But it's got to start locally, individually. We talk,
Are you thinking about running or getting behind somebody?
I would rather. I think there's probably better people suited for it than me, maybe. But I would definitely help.
What about Rob McKee?
I think no. I don't think that it would work for him. I mean,
he wouldn't want to, but he's the type of person. Yeah, the community
he
would
love
him.
Well, he would be great, right? It's like the king should never be the guy who wants to be the king, right? Like, and he would never want to be in politics. It's not his thing.
Then let's get him in
which
there,
makes him, I know, makes him uniquely qualified, perhaps. But yeah. There's a lot of people like that. It's why they're not in politics, right? They don't want to be. There's lots of really great people, great business people, leaders, all kinds of great people, but most of them don't want to be in politics.
Yeah. But Maggie, you're kind of considering it now, so 2026, or are you still just getting behind getting everybody organized and
for me, I can only see that far ahead. For me personally, right now, is to get everyone organized, and down the road, I can only see the next year ahead of me right now, and the groundwork that needs to be done. So
absolutely, but that is the first step. Once you make that commitment, I have a feeling if you made that commitment, you would be following it all the way through.
Absolutely, and the independence is where it's at, and I have no doubt that I'll be working with people that are running and helping with that. I did want to share a few things that happening in Ontario here and across the country. You might have already talked about Sean Buckley and the Natural Health Product Protection Association. Health Canada is trying to take away our not take them away, but make it harder for us to access our natural health products. So he was successful about a decade ago when Health Canada tried to do this. So he's a constitutional lawyer. He knows what he's doing, and he's doing lives. So look him up. And
he did the NCI, right? He was a lawyer in the NCI.
He probably was. Yeah. The other thing is, so after I spoke to the town council here about the UN and the takeover of our municipalities through ICLEI, I've been working on a notice of liability, and really putting something together that will be more effective. So I've created an event on my Facebook, and if people want to follow along with that, it would be great if across the country we could be engaged at that level and serving effective notice of liabilities to our municipalities and educating our people. As I did, I went in, and like I said, half the people in the room did not know that was happening, as far as our council members. So we need to educate them on what's happening, because they are the ones with the power to do something about this now. And notices of liability that lay it out and reference everything and put them on notice is an effective tool we can use across the country. And in Peterborough, we're doing a barter and trade fair. 10 of us came together to plan, and between us, we had the expertise, skills, and knowledge to absolutely just run our own community at this point. So when we get 100, 200 people at a networking event for the purpose of creating a directory and utilizing our own community's power and skills, that's how we're going to create that grassroots community. So the bartering trade is good. And yeah, I have more to announce, but that's a bit further down the road.
You have a couple more minutes if you want. Yeah, you have a couple more minutes.
So mid-August up in Northern Ontario, Elliott Lake, we'll have a large gathering there. And we'd like to bring together the leaders of those communities, not the leaders, but the people that people look to. We were hoping to get as many of them at this meeting, because we don't want to forget about Northern Ontario. There's a lot of good people up there, and we're going to have some great speakers and workshops, and it's going to be amazing. So mid-August, you can look for that also on my Facebook, and I'll try and learn how to do Twitter and everything and announce other places as well. But
Awesome. And Chris, you want to wrap up, and we're going to be passing this off to Greg Arcade. Hey, Greg.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah,
Chris is going to wrap up, and we'll go to Greg.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a couple of days to unwind here, and then I'm going to be leaving with Bridges to Freedom. So it's complicated stuff. I'll have some announcements. Everybody who follows, we just watch my pages. But we're going to be heading east first. So if there's anybody out there too in the East Coast that wants to connect, reach out to me. I think I'm going to be leaving Monday from Ottawa, heading east. So that's what I got immediately planned, and there'll be lots more about that coming up.
And that's the first time you went east, right? So you go see Morgan and Jeremy and stuff?
Yeah, it should be good. I think Jeff does the V4F podcast is down on the East Coast. So there's quite a few great people. I think Dana Metcalf too. I'm not sure how far we'll get, but there goes my dog. Ooh. Yeah, so it should be a great trip. And then I think potentially we'd be going west afterwards. So could be pretty cool.
Yeah, hit me up. Make sure you hit us up. And then Greg's out
sure.
west. So we'll let you go, Chris. Thank you so much, Maggie. And we'll talk to you soon, okay? Hi, Greg. How are you doing? Let me just get your mic open here.
Me and Dave.
Yeah, you go. You're good. We got you now. And let me put you in this way.
Check
hey, you
I
sound
could probably
awesome.
sit more in the center if you need, but
This works. I like your set. I like seeing the mic back there.
Thanks.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Thanks. Am I coming through okay? Do I have to be louder?
Yeah. No, I upped your mic a little bit there, and now you're awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you got some good equipment there. You can hear it. It sounds very clean.
I've got some things. Yeah.
You do. Well, look, I'm really excited to meet you. This is my first time connecting with you outside of Twitter and Telegram.
Yeah,
and
it's good to meet you as well, Jason.
And very excited to have you on this Friday. So to everybody who's watching.
That's right.
Yeah, you're going to be back on Friday. Oh, I love your microphone. It sounds so good, buddy.
That's a lot of people always tell me, especially Mr. McKenzie says I have the best audio in the business. And it's
He's
true.
Not wrong.
I do. No.
Yeah. And it's not just your equipment. It's also you. You're some of the best audio in the business as well.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
And I'm not just saying that because you're going to be a guest. You're already booked. I'm saying that because I think you're awesome at this.
Thank you.
Now, I didn't know who you were until you reached out to me on Twitter. So I apologize for that part of it.
It's all good, man. Canada's a funny place. They suppress everybody who's got a voice so that we can't link up and grow.
But one of the things I learned about you is you came out to the Coots thing and you kind of helped out the guys early.
I wasn't I came out to the Coots fundraiser in Alberta.
Right.
There in April. I think it was April 8th, if I'm not mistaken. We had that one there. Yeah, Granny McKay, her little crew reached out to me. A lovely lady by the name Jacqueline reached out if I'd be willing to come out and play. And of course I was, because those guys are political prisoners It's a travesty what's going on there, and I can't believe more people are so dull to the fact that it's, oh, they told us they were terrorists. It's like, well, come on, guys. Like, use your head for a second. They're clearly not. Like, they got one guy in jail because he had a book in his car. Is that all it takes these days in Canada? Give me a break. You know?
Oh,
So,
you're going to be upset when you hear like the real truth. We got some more information. This is
buddy, I listened to I was watching a live stream as Lysak got arrested that he was doing from his phone personally. So I know exactly what went on. Those cops straight up on that stream said, is that Chris blah, blah, blah? No, it doesn't matter. Let's just get any Chris. Like I heard audio of them say that. So that's the state of law enforcement in Canada. I can get my hands on that audio if you want, Mr. Lawyer Man.
Yeah,
So,
happy to check that out. And we know Jacqueline. She'll be on Friday. So
she's an amazing woman. I have lots of love for Jacqueline.
Yeah, and Granny's going to be on tonight. So if you stick around for Alberta, it's going to be Granny.
Yeah, I'll be watching a little later. So. Once you kick me off, once I talk too much.
No worries. I would have you the whole night, but we have to hear from Saskatchewan as well. There's a lot going on there.
I'm back on Friday.
You got it. Yeah. Now, what I did want to do with you is last week we had Zahena on, who does music as well, and he played one of his new songs for us, his new mixes for us, and it went over very well. So what I've done is I've queued up Homegrown.
Sure.
Do you mind if I go ahead and put that on?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So you hear that, YouTube? We have the artist permission. This is allowed to be played. So
I actually don't copyright claim anything, so if you get that, I'll fight with you to fight it. I don't believe in any of that. So
you're a good man.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who haven't heard it before, it's one of my favorites. Let's kick back, relax, and I know John's going to love this. Take care, bud. Did I hit play? Oh, sorry. There we go. Where's that?
Well, it sure does seem like things are getting crazy out there. Trains off the rail, there's a dark cloud up in the air. And it's been going on so long, it's hard to find a reason to care. So I can get bent out of shape, or I can answer with a mile-long stare. I'd rather get a little homegrown place out in the country I could call my own. Space to grow a garden beneath the greenhouse dome. Raise a little family. I'd grow a little homegrown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, watch the sunset behind my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. You can spend your time tracking rabbit holes you can't change. Or you can head offline, keep yourself from going insane. That don't mean you shouldn't be aware of what's going on. But you should know by now you're better off taking care of your own. Get a little homegrown place out in the country I could call my own. Space to grow a garden beneath the greenhouse dome. Raise a little family. I'd grow a little homegrown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, watch the sunset behind my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. Riverside fish fry, country cook walleye, teaching my kids how to drop a deer with hindsight. Dirt road, no lights, local bar wing nights, beers with the boys and occasional fist fights. RC scared of me, Ocean aware of me. Oh shit, back's free, stay away from me. Grown Manitoban with a heart like a lion, long teeth like a yolk. Can you hear them dogs crying? Place out in the country I could call my home. And the government leaves me the hell alone. So I could grow a little homegrown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, watch the sunset behind my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. I'll get a little homegrown place out in the country country, I could call my own space to grow a garden, need a greenhouse dome, raise a little family. Or grow a little homegrown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, watch the sunset beyond my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. Watch the kids get all grown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, and watch the sunset behind my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. It really sounds like heaven. It sure sounds like heaven to me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Is that your story? Because that sounds like your backyard.
Yeah,
That sounds
well,
like a good time.
so it's funny, like I went through the whole system. Like Canada sells you a lot of things that aren't real, and you kind of realize that with time as you get older. And so I did a lot of things. I started music festivals. I would work with anybody, and as time went on, these people who are like far left associated, communist associated, they would cause rumors, attack me, attack my character. It's the same thing that's went on over time when I started helping Jeremy McKenzie when he got canceled, and we've become friends ever since then. Like, I think cancel culture in general is treason. I think it's just a seizature of our own culture, right? They identify anybody who's creating something that's from the West, right? And try to seize us from doing anything and say like, oh, this guy's a racist, this guy's evil, this guy's a separatist. At the end of the day, we are the culture and they're not, and they're attacking us for creating it because it is a culture war. Because if you don't have anything worth fighting for, there's no fight. Right? And the culture is what that is. And so I started making this music. I realized as the psyop and the spell lifted off of me that I need to start making music that doesn't exemplify the things that I was seeking to when I still thought I wanted to be part of the radio system. And I don't want to be part of that system. It's a waste. Content creators such as yourself have as an equal to or larger audience at this point, and you are the new media. So I work with you guys, and I don't need to go, well, get a truck loan and sleep around and drink whiskey and ruin your life. Like, I don't want to sing songs about that. So homegrown for me, this is me singing, some of it's already realized for me, but some of it is still an aspiration for me. So, you can always improve your situation. That's what that song's about. Casting aside this degeneracy and doing better things for everybody. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with my music and with producing other artists right now. And so that song, Homegrown, is from an album that's coming out September 1st, Soundtrack to the Collapse. A buddy of mine, he was listening to my songs, and especially the ones I just put out, like Rally on Me, Go Down Swinging, Homegrown. He's like, man, you're really writing the soundtrack to the collapse. And I was like, that's a cool name for a record. And I'm sure someone will be like, how dare you write that your record name? Because that's the state of the country we live in now. But the thing is, I haven't even had a chance to work on the art yet because I've been so busy. So if you go to gregarcade.com, you can pick up a copy. Early Bird ends this weekend. And then it goes into pre-sale, which is still a reduction in price. And then it's full price as of September 1st. But so I just started working on this record, and part of it too was I never really wrote pop songs, or at least pop mentality songs. And I wanted to create that for our side because there's a lot of MAGA rap. There's a lot of hardcore punk or metal that's like, oh, I'm on your side. It's like, yeah, I listened to that stuff when I was younger too, but our side also deserves other types of music. So I kind of put a little halt on the outlaw stuff for a bit while I cut this record. And I think it's just, I think it's going a good direction. A lot of people are responding to it. My YouTube shows that itself. I put out a tune and she climbs up to like 3K plays pretty quickly these days, which is nice.
Half of those are me. Just replaying.
That's actually not how YouTube works when it comes to music plays. They'll count one from your account ever and never again. So it's pretty crazy.
No, I have 1,500 accounts because I love it that much.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you. Please go do that more. Yeah. I've actually got a new song coming out this weekend. Did I send it to you, the Great Awakening?
No, but maybe we'll sneak it onto Friday.
Yeah, you know what? Let's save it then, because Friday morning it's coming out at sunrise local time, so 5:35 a.m. And that's a song about, a lot of people use the Great Awakening trope, right? And some people are like, well, the turning to light is Luciferian and all this. And I think for me, it's more realizing like, no one's going to solve my problems. Embracing God, embracing Jesus Christ. These are important things for me because I've really learned a lot over the last period. And, I embrace these things, and it's just, things are not exactly what you thought they were going to be. But at the same time, it's better to be awake and on this side than sleeping in the old world, because the old world's kind of brutal, man.
Yeah, well, I like this world that you're talking about. Kick your boots up, got your dog, got your garden, even a smoke, and just enjoying the evening.
What's funny, homegrown, I'm talking about growing weed and smoking, but I haven't smoked weed in months. Like, so it's just Canada, don't worry, it's legal. But yeah, just that, I guess that's part of it too, right? It's more just for me to have the ability and the freedom and the liberty to do it. And
for sure, and there's that word liberty, but true liberty.
Yeah.
And you enjoy Manitoba, right? You enjoy where you live.
Hey, okay, so a lot of people like to knock on Winnipeg because they've never been to Manitoba. Manitoba's
just so you know,
awesome.
I did my high school years in Winnipeg, so I've been through several years there.
What part of town?
Fort Richmond, St. Vital, and Tuxedo.
Ugh, worst. No, I'm just kidding. I'm from the North End, so it's different.
Oh, there you go.
But
Southside, dude. Southside.
But yeah, so like Winnipeg's really beautiful. It's kind of like this lake country bayou. I haven't been downtown except to like drive someone home in the last year or 3 years. What year is it? But I haven't been. I don't go there. There's lots of lovely people who live in Manitoba. Manitoba gets a lot of like overlooked, and at the same time, it's funny because people forget the heritage of it as like kind of the rebel province, and also just
Leif Erikson.
There's so much awesome stuff here, and people like to just poo-poo on Manitoba quite a bit. But once you know like the salt of the earth people, especially the rural people, it's nothing better. Like I love everybody from all over this country who is like on our side, but when it comes to rural Manitobans, like they're ultra based and ultra cool and ultra nice, and I just appreciate them. So I'm saying that to you, Manitobans. If you're
and you represent them well. You represent them well. You're like
I don't even know if they like me very much, to be honest. Like I've found that Canadians, when you have somebody who is bold and speaks their mind, the majority of Canadians are like, oh, why doesn't that guy just side with the people destroying us? Like he's rocking the boat. Like I find that's a general vibe of what we run into as Canadians. And so I don't know if a lot of local people like me that much, but the ones who do like me quite a bit, and I like them too. And probably hate me just the same, and that's fine. We can sort it out ourselves later.
Well, you're a nice soft place for them to, when they're coming over, you're a nice soft place for them to fall, because if they're going to listen to your music, it's not in your ear, it's not mean or anything like that. It's a good place.
Yeah, but see, I'm kind of a jerk to people on the internet because I've had enough of them. So, but like when you get me in real life, it's a different story, because internet's all doppelgangers as much as, that's just a thing people talked about, that it's your digital doppelganger, but it's still like, you just reach this point, you're like, oh, wow, 65% of all internet traffic last year was fake. So it's all robots. And anytime you step out of line, you've got this same mechanism of people who come in and go, oh, this guy's doing this. And it's like, oh, okay, this is all fake. So you kind of butt heads with people. So anyone who's dumb enough to just think the world exists on the internet, I guess my music's not really for them. People who kind of realize that it's like something else, something bigger. That's who it's for, people on our side.
So 65% of the internet's fake, 30% is porn. So that leaves 5% of us, right?
Yeah, it's us. It's us fighting with porn and fake.
Porn and fake.
Yeah.
That sounds like we need to be on the side of God, and we need to kick our boots off for this.
100% you do. 100%. Yeah.
And one thing you said that I really enjoyed was that cancel culture is like tyranny. It is like
it is. It's treason. Treason. Because I actually had that thought today. You go ahead. Sorry, I talked.
Yeah, I was going to say you're absolutely right, because what it does is it vitiates or voids 3 of our most important rights. One of them is due process. Another one is to be able to confront your accuser. and another one is innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah,
So
it's
you lose those three rights just in that entire.
the court of public opinion trumps the actual court, and now the cowards in the court system, of which we have many, say, "Oh well, they already said this guy's bad. Look, their CBC article said they're terrorists." It's like, I'm not supposed to be biased, but like that's what we see from judges, and be like, well, this guy killed 3 people, but I don't want to be a racist, so go out, kill some more. And that's what we're facing in this country, and that's the reality of the situation. So the social contract we grew up with is just expired. And instead, we need to just be like, okay, well, I find my people through sources like this. Thank you for doing this show, by the way. I didn't know about you until I messaged you that day, because I saw you shared some stuff from a buddy of mine, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to send whatever I can to this guy to help him out. If you ever play the stuff of mine that's covers, you might get a copy strike, not always. Okay. So just, if you play originals. Yeah, if you play with originals, and that goes for anybody. Like, if you guys are having streams, play my tunes. Like, I don't copy claim, and if we do, I'll help you fight it, because I don't believe in that. Not for our side, at least. If the other side plays it, I will destroy them in copyright. So that's the thing you run. So that's
Greg, thank you so much. And we got 2 more Patriots, and it looks like they're on the run, and they're going to make sure that we get the information today. If you don't know who these 2 are, you should stick around and watch this next part.
Wait, who is? I can't see the screen from where I'm sitting.
No problem. We have Mark Friesen, the Patriot, the Grizzly.
Oh, Patriot. Of course, we got big old Grizzly Bear show up. How you doing?
Yeah. And we got Zach Schmidt from Schmidt House Podcast.
Oh man, I like both these guys. How you guys doing? Well, I'm gonna get out of here because I talk too much. But thank you so much for having me. GregArcade.com. Buy that new record.
We will. Thank you very much. We'll see you Friday. We'll get that new tune on too.
Absolutely.
Cheers, buddy. Hey, Zach, and hello, Mark. How are you guys doing?
Good afternoon.
Are you guys trying to meet up? I know one of you is like Northern Saskatchewan, one of you is Southern Saskatchewan. You guys driving to each other? What's going on here?
I'm just trying to find a place to park that has good internet.
Oh, thank you for finding that internet hotspot. And then Zach, same thing. Or are you just out and about?
Yeah, I'm out and about. I'm in the glorious city of Regina today. Just drove by our tent city that we have in front of City Hall here, and gonna stop by, get some groceries, and then head out of town here.
Well, you sound proud of that tent city. How large is it, and has it been growing over the months?
It has. I think it's up to 70 tents or something like that now. Not sure. I think they don't actually have a reason of being there other than the fact that they want to. So they don't have any type of goal, any type of collective point of being there. So we'll see how it all shakes down. It's not like this is existing. This is just existing everywhere, it seems, these days.
Where is that?
And then how about you, Mark?
City Hall in Regina.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we got campers all over. We got campers all over the city in Saskatoon. They're literally in back alleys. They're wherever there's trees. We got people camping all over.
Holy smokes. Yeah, it's happening everywhere, guys. It seems to be the year of the campers. Now, it's going to help the tax base, right? Because they're tax-paying citizens, right? No, of course not. So, Mark, what's going on, man? We haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. You've been super busy. I think the last time we saw you was around the Max election. So what's been going on since then?
Just trying to hold some politicians' feet to the fire. I don't know if you saw my video asking Pierre Poilievre the most important question in the history of questions in our country. But yeah, trying to keep the heat on and see if he'll actually address the issue of Agenda 2030 and his party's commitment to that agenda, and get him to answer the damn question.
Well, what was the question that you had in your video?
Well, the question is, what's your position on Agenda 2030? Are you in support of it? Obviously, his answer has to be yes, because his previous conservative prime ministers, Harper and Mulroney, both signed on to it. Mm-hmm. So I at the end of the day, he doesn't answer because he'll find himself in a box that he can't get out of, right. Because his party is the party responsible for committing to that agenda. So I don't think he'll answer, but hopefully there's enough pressure and enough conservative supporters see exactly what they're and why, and make the right choice.
Well, during the Max election, the candidate Max was against, he put out a tweet about not attending WEF, and then Pierre supported that tweet. So is that kind of how he's showing his side, or do you take that that's not good enough for you?
Yeah, no, it's not good enough because he covers himself off by denouncing forum, but what a lot of Canadians don't understand, it seems, is that the World Economic Forum is a support mechanism for the greater Agenda 2030. Mm-hmm. And, those two entities, the World Economic Forum and the UN, partnered in June of 2019 to achieve the goals of sustainable development. So he goes as far to denounce the World Economic Forum. Well, that's not far enough. You need to denounce the UN agenda, which, as I said, chances are pretty good he's not going to do that, because if he did, then he would be denouncing the party that he leads for committing to that agenda. So he's sort of he finds himself in a bit of a box.
No, I think you were calling out Scott Moe as well. What did I see you call him out on?
So I called out Scott Moe in regards to the Planned Parenthood debacle in Lumsden High School for grade 9s. That tweet ended up getting 4.1 million views. The next day, Dustin Duncan, our education minister, announced that they'll be banning Planned Parenthood from the school. So,
That's great. Maybe you did something. How many million are in Saskatchewan? 1 or 2?
1.2 million.
So each of them watched it about 3 times each, and then their message got out there.
Well, let's hope so. We still have Soji. They're still planning to go forward with Soji in the fall in our school curriculum, and so that's a big battle that we have on our hands. And why our politicians, conservative politicians, would want to implement that foreign agenda, which is only going to sexualize our kids and turn them into monsters down the road, is beyond me. It tells me that Scott Moe and his Sask party are fully committed to the Agenda 2030 because it is connected. And there's a number of other things that Scott Moe is showing the agenda. So.
Okay, well, let me go to Zach on the next one here. So, Zach, we saw Pierre. He did a photo where he had some guy with a shirt that said straight pride, I believe is what's said on there. And then he denounced that entire shirt and says, I don't support that at all. I support the other one, gay or other non-straight pride, but I don't support this one. I thought that was an incredible statement. Like, he didn't even say I support them all. He says, I don't support straight pride. Do you think that's going to have an impact as well? And is that showing us that he really is not trying to stop this agenda stuff?
Well, it's more convoluted than that too, because he didn't outright come and say it. He had one of his staffers do a press release on it. So, right. I mean, that in itself gave the CPC base the ammo that they need to say, well, it's not okay. He didn't actually say it and jump to his defense. What up until the point where that apology came out, they were all excited and happy, and then completely overlooked the apology that came forward. Danielle Smith did the exact same thing, but I was really getting after it on Twitter the other day when this all kind of came to light, because there was so many defenders of him saying that, saying that the shirt was wrong. I'm like, there's nothing that this man can do. He's just like Trudeau in the fact there's nothing that he can do that his base won't adore him for, Right. I think he should just put his pronouns in his bio, is realistically where we're sitting. Is because he's no different than someone that far left.
Sorry, you're saying you're muted for a second there. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, the conservative supporters seem to be in this area of cognitive dissonance, where they won't accept reality. They won't even accept what Pierre Poilievre puts out there. They just completely deny it and dismiss it as they're scared of Trudeau getting in again, And that seems to be the paramount for all of these conservative supporters. You know, they've shown us who they are, what they're all about. So, you know, at the end of the day, conservative supporters really need to do some soul searching and
Oh, he's talking too much. CSIS didn't like that one. Go ahead, Zach.
Well, I was going to say, how much more evidence did these people need to see to figure out that the Conservative Party is not standing up for the ideals of your typical conservative? I don't call myself conservative by any means, but when I see what's going on within their party, it's like, how are they not waking up to this? How are they not upset for the apology, but they all jump to defend them? You know, the leaders of these federal parties can do no wrong. And, you know, to an extension, it happens here as well. Because people are so afraid of what the left is doing, they will cater to whatever party is just saying, I'm not them. They're not offering anything different. You know, and you even see this, I posted this on Twitter last week. In Moose Jaw, there was in the library, a publicly funded library, there's a sign that had a bunch of queer stuff in it, and a whole queer section. And, you know, the defense of this in the most conservative province is just outstanding. There's nobody that's actually willing to step up and want to keep them accountable. They'd rather just ignore or defend and say, well, we got to play their game, or we got to be nice to this side. These people are outright attacking, borderline threatening violence in the case of what was posted in the library, and they just completely overlook it. They're not trying to dictate the culture and the political climate here. They're just being, they're succumbing to it. And that's not a conservative position. That's not, you hear social conservatives or traditional conservatives, like, it means nothing. It's just platitudes on what you want to pat yourself on the back for, because you're not actually standing up for anything. I think that there's no backbone, and we just see it everywhere across the board. There's very, very few politicians. You look at like what the Buffalo Party is doing here in Saskatchewan, look at the PPC, but they're so vilified purely because there's so much fear, and like Mark said, cognitive dissonance of what the actual solution is here. If all of the people that said, you know, Max hasn't won a seat, he'll never win, blah, 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 we need to vote blue to be able to get the red guy out, you know, we're just going to play this game forever. It's not getting to a solution, it's just prolonging the problem.
Right, and go ahead, Mark. Oh, I think you're muted, bud, on your side. There you go, you're good.
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I think the benefit of what we're seeing is going to come to fruition. You know, I think by and large the Conservatives are probably going to win the next election. I don't think Trudeau has the support that he needs. I don't think his party another election with him as leader. And so I think the Conservatives will probably win the next election, and then that's our time to show everybody and prove to everybody exactly who they are. Okay. You know, the Sask Party in Saskatchewan's, they're exposing themselves on a regular basis, and it's our job to help expose to conservative voters in this province. And when I say that, I mean rural Saskatchewan. And I think, you know, which is why I focus a lot of my attention on provincial politics, because I think Saskatchewan is an interesting place. Again, we've talked about demographics. The lion's share of conservative voters are rural Saskatchewan, and there is no threat of a vote split with the NDP coming up the middle. For example, the Buffalo Party and the Sask Party could split votes in rural ridings 50-50. It wouldn't matter because the NDP's numbers are so low in rural Saskatchewan. There is no threat of that, and people need to understand that in the legislature is going to improve the lives of people living in Saskatchewan. Just our presence there, you know, putting forward bills, forcing Sask Party, ruling party, to vote on bills that make sense and that are common sense. You know, we'll be able to show exactly who represent.
Now, you mentioned that you think the next election Pierre is going to win, and that will be our time to show everybody that he's, you know, WEF aligned and let him screw up and kind of thing. And I get it. The last term, we basically did that with Trudeau. Do you think? Okay, we had a comment online, and I tagged you in it. Some guy saying he believes most Canadians accept the WEF agenda. And then we have this question here from exactly. And then we have this question here from Cora that says, "Do Canadians truly believe 2030 will be good for them?" So if we have to wait to 2025 to get Pierre in, expose him as WEF aligned, he's going to continue Justin Trudeau's, keep that march going. Are we going to just get red again? Because we heard some from Quebec who said Mark Carney, I think it is, might be a replacement for Trudeau. And if he's a replacement, then he might be an attractive replacement for the Liberal Party. So are we going to end up just going back and forth between these two parties, or are we going to get enough?
I think as they move along and they attempt to implement more and more of agenda, more and more Canadians are going to be exposed. More and more Canadians, more inflation is going to happen because of it. More printing of money. Cost of living is going to go through the roof. Housing prices are going to continue to rise with high immigration numbers. And the more pain that Canadians feel, establishment policies and compliance with Agenda 2030, the more pain there is, the more people will be looking to something different. And it has to be that pain. People it has to be tangible for them so they understand, and it's our job to make sure that they understand, which is why I speak about Agenda 2030 and its consequences to our nation.
And you agree with that there, Zach, that we need to have a little bit more pain before Canadians will come around?
I definitely do, because unfortunately, sharing this information hasn't been taking the grasp that it should be. We kind of mentioned the problems with the Conservative Party right now. So if more pain is what is needed, and then I'd say bring it on. I've kind of turned into a little bit of an accelerationist on that front, because people don't realize how bad it will actually get. Well, if you're not willing to actually start paying attention and if you're looking towards a political solution, actually doing something about it, then you deserve more pain. You know what I mean? So it's really unfortunate. And, even maybe 20 years ago, I would have had a little bit more faith in our citizenry. But where we're standing right now, it's almost like you got to take some really bad tasting cough medicine to be able to cure this. And, I think I said this to my wife last night. If we're looking at what the Conservative Party, their solution is they're just saying we're not them. So you're basically swapping one cancer for another, rather than getting down to brass tacks and saying we got to cut the cancer out, right? I view that government entirety is cancer, but you know what? Not all of the people are ready for what my anarchistic perspective would suggest, but I think they can at least wake up a little bit and say, hey, we need something different than this red, blue, black, and forth.
Now, Mark, do you think it might?
So here's.
Do you think it might be the vaccine harm and maybe possibly the child indoctrination might be the pain points that tip us, or?
Yeah, there's definitely some pain points there. You raise a couple of big issues. I think that's leading in the direction we need to go. But what I was going to say is, you watch Pierre Poilievre at the Stampede the other day, where he's denouncing digital IDs, denouncing CBDCs. And, at the end of the day, if his party is the party that's committed to the Sustainable Development Agenda, which is where these policies are born, if he can't denounce that, then he's lying to everybody, because party is the party responsible for committing to this agenda. And people need to acknowledge that and recognize that. And when he stands up in front of a crowd and says, I'm gonna get rid of all of that, well, how can you when your party is committed to this agenda? You're the only party that is committed to Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. You're the only party that is committed to that agenda. So how can you say that? How can you be honest with the people that are in the same room where you're spouting this stuff, yet you're still committed to an Agenda 2030, where these policies are born from?
Well, there's some good news. We have people like Maggie Hope Braun in Peterborough who stood up in the council just this week, I believe it was, and explained to them and put them on notice, gave them a notice that they are violating our rights because of the Agenda 2030. So she and other people like her are going out there and start talking about it now. So we got that going for us now.
Finally. Yes.
Yeah. So we got some good news there. And if you take a look at Pickering, there's a counselor there, Lisa Robinson, another fabulous voice coming out of Ontario. Yeah. So thank you both.
And that's what we need, because, you know, at the end of the day, politics is downstream from culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that we're going to change the culture of this country is for people like those people, elected officials, who stand up with conviction and tell people the truth. That's the only way it's going to knock some sense into some people and say, hey, wait a minute, she's actually right. That's common sense, right?
Yes, yes. So we're very proud of that one. You can check my Twitter. I think you retweeted it as well, the Lisa Robinson, where she's given it her 3-point breakdown to end adult life performances with minors, is the way she framed that. So we have some movement there, so that's good news. So thank you very much, Mark, and thank you very much, Zach. We're ready to head over to Alberta. And thanks for taking the time. You were out and about, and you made it happen. So thank you both.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anytime, my friend. Take care.
We'll see you soon. Take care, brother.
Exactly.
Bye. Saskatchewan, and now we're over in Alberta. And there's a familiar face. I've seen you before. You kind of look familiar. Were you on a bumper sticker or something? I think you're muted on your side, just so you know.
Yes,
you're pulling a Don Best.
Exactly. I got kids, cat, house to go, and I'm on grandma duty. So this is what you get.
If you don't mind, do you have a Wi-Fi? You got that robotic sound again.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, no problem. So what we'll let Granny do is try and check that audio. She has a way sometimes of getting onto Wi-Fi, and then it goes away because she's some pretty important things to tell us. But what I can do is I can talk a bit about Alberta while we're waiting on Granny. And what we're doing is we're working on the Coots matter. Oh, there she is. Let's check this out.
Is that any better?
It's the same. It's the same. Well, okay. Well, what we can do is maybe we'll do a bit of it, and then I'll do the update for you, because it is hard to hear it.
Because I can go to another machine by the time I do it.
No, give it a shot. Give it a shot. We got time.
Okay.
We'll get you on.
Well, isn't this weird? It's only my phone that does this with you.
I think CSIS put that on, and when it's you and I, they interfere, maybe.
Yeah, because you're the only one I have trouble with.
I'm sorry. I got the video here. It is choppy. But we'll get you to try another computer, and I'll give a bit of an update while we wait for you.
Do you want me to do that? Okay.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. Fine.
Okay. So we'll let Granny go ahead and do that. But what I'm going to do is I'll give you a bit of an update on what's going on in Alberta. So we're focused a lot on the Coots 4, but I'll let Granny bring that update to you. I'll bring you the update on what's happening with Eva Chipowich and Carrie Sakamoto. So what happened was they filed a lawsuit, $10.5 million. Carrie is suing the Government of Canada, Health Canada, Alberta Health Services, couple nurses, and the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I think there's one more in there that I just missed, but those are the main ones. And what she's suing for is neglect and misinformation. So neglect from the government, who put forward something that was safe and maybe possibly, who knows, effective. That's what they quoted it as. And then, of course, the media propagated that. So the issue that Carrie's having is she believed. Simple as that. This is a lawsuit about, I believed you and you lied. So now this is what we have to do. So neglect is when somebody is supposed to do better. They should know better. And they ought to know better. And it doesn't matter if they know better or ought to know better. They definitely should have done better. So this is when the law kicks in with neglect. There's gross neglect. There's different levels of neglect. But if it causes bodily harm, it's a very serious type of damage and neglect. So what's going on is, this lawsuit has laid out, I think it's 28 pages of claims. You should read it, because they're making some pretty incredible claims. But here's the thing. They're the plaintiff. So they have to prove it. It's not up to the government to really disprove it. Although they like to make sure that we feel like we're guilty until proven innocent, which we'll get into with the Coots 4 here with Granny. But the government they don't have to, they just have to defend the allegations. They don't have to prove anything. It's going to be Eva and Carrie that have to do that. Now, the good news is they feel pretty confident that they can, because Carrie was actually, she got the application approved because of her doctors who took great care of her immediately. And by the way, it sounds like she got some good doctors because she's still with them and they were assisting her the entire time. And they acknowledged right away it was an injury from the drug. So she applied for the injury program, vaccine injury program for Canada. We have one. And just so you know, they put that website up 4 months after the first dose. The dose was December 2021. The website was up April 2022. In any ways, she applied for that program. She was successful. So she is absolutely confirmed by all definitions to be injured. So now it's up to her to convince the court. It's in Alberta Provincial Court. Oddly enough, she filed it in Lethbridge because that's where she lives. So Lethbridge Court is going to be incredibly popular for the next little bit because that's where the Coots men are being tried. And that's also where now Carrie has filed her lawsuit. Now, Eva has given me a lot of good information and some optimistic information. For example, they are, I guess, close to or going to be or projecting to be overwhelmed with the number of FOIs, Freedom of Information requests that are being fulfilled. And the public has been wonderful. They're passing a bunch of information, sharing their stories, and collecting some of these FOIs as well and passing them on to Eva. As a result of that, she's asked us, our team, me, Dawn, we got a couple more people, to help. So, little old me, my paralegal background, experience in Ontario, I'm going to take that and help Calgary and help Eva and help Carrie. And we're going to see what we can do. We want to collect the best information. We want to present it to the lawyer, Eva, and make sure that the court understands what's going on here. I'm sure you're going to see some NCI people. They're going to be involved too. There was a lot of witnesses in the NCI stuff. They're going to be involved. And then we're also now starting to reach and get information out of other places, like in the UK. There's a video of a UK, they filed something to find out whether or not they were lied to. After an investigation, it turns out they were lied to. So good news is we get to look at that precedence and bring it over. It's not binding because it's a different country, but that judgment is a precedent setting. And it looks like I got Granny back. Hello, Granny. Oh, I know that background.
Device number 3, but I got
Yeah,
it.
you sound
iPad
perfect. You look great.
iPad wouldn't even let me in, so oh my gosh.
It was worth it. It was worth it. And we also have Joe Rampart, who just joined as well from Edmonton. So what I was doing there, Granny, is I was giving an update of the Eva stuff out of Calgary with Carrie Sakamoto.
Okay.
So I gave them an update on the vaccine injury lawsuit. So now we can go ahead
That's
and
a big
continue
one.
with. It sure is. And I also let them know that we're going to be part of that team and assist with them on going through all the Freedom of Information requests and stuff.
Lots of good stuff coming up regarding law.
Yeah, well, we got to get through some of these legal issues. And trust me, Granny, we're just getting started. We're going to have to deal with the POEC report at some point in the future as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to do. But I wanted you to update everybody because we've been getting a little bit of attention from different types of media the last week or so.
It's unbelievable the attention we're getting right now. Like we have the gentleman Gord from the United States. I had a gentleman, I think his name was Ray today from Vancouver. I've got all kinds of people coming out of the woodwork, sending letters to MLAs. They've got board members from CAs, constituencies and stuff coming out and asking what's going on. I feel like things are really finally, I think people have been clamoring for this and they want to know something. And now it's getting out there. And
it's exciting.
Because it's been pretty silent for 514 days.
Yeah, so the news with Gord was exciting because Gord, he's a freelance writer, but it was Newsweek who actually reached out to him. So he's not pitching a story. They reached out to him and said, "Hey, listen, we heard about this. Is this similar to our January 6th political prisoner stuff?" And he said, "Let me look into it." So yeah, it was exciting. Yeah. Newsweek is who he's representing.
And what's nice is all these people are reaching out, and I mean it's coming from every direction right now, from East Coast to West Coast, down south. And what's nice too is it's helping the 4 men. It's helping Chris, Jerry, Tony, and Chris because they need to hang on to hope. they're the ones sitting in a remand jail for 514 days. And so I shared Donald's article. That's new since last week. DonaldBest.ca. You can find the article he wrote about the 4 Coots men. And what was it, Jason? In 24 hours, it had like 50,000 views.
50,000 views. Yep.
And
he can get up to 1 million views on his articles.
Wow. That's unbelievable. Well, I shared it with 3 of the men, and Crystal shared it with one of the Chris's. And that gave them hope that there's somebody out there actually writing about them. It gives them hope hearing about your show. It gives them hope, and they wait to hear what's going on because they need that. And so thank you to everybody. And please continue to share. If you think you know somebody or anything, just reach out and help them. Because as we were talking about last week, July 25th is creeping up. It's just over 10 days away.
Right. And just so you know, I got confirmation. It's actually July 25th, 26th, and 27th. Those are booked. Yeah.
It's actually, I think it's Tuesday to Friday.
Okay. So you got all 4 days. Okay. I knew about the first 3. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens on the 25th. And it'll be interesting to see what transpires out of that, because none of us know. Like, it involves the Crown, the RCMP, and possibly the Law Society. And there's a whole lot of something going on there, and it's not about our 4 boys. So who is it about? And we all need to pay attention. We all need to listen, and we all need to keep our eye on what's going on. If they try to hush this up or throw it, sweep it under the carpet, we're not going to allow that. Our men have been in there for 514 days. And as you and I spoke before, there's a little bit of shenanigans going on out there. Somebody else might need to spend 514 days in that remand cell. And then we will look at you for possibly, going into a courtroom.
Maybe we'll consider bail or something at that point for sure.
Yeah.
And sorry, and I'm just going to say, and I got a special phone call today. It started with a 1-866. So Chris Carbett called me.
Yeah. He's a wonderful young man.
I don't understand why they picked him. There's nothing wrong with this gentleman. He is a sweet soul, actually.
Yes.
We talked about fishing, how he likes to enjoy fishing. We talked about his landscaping business, how he built that up. And we talked about, which was surprising to me, when he gets out, he wants to help others navigate the justice system.
I think all 4 of them are pretty much in that. They've seen it from the inside out. We're looking from the outside in, trying to get them out. They've seen it for 514 days. Most people don't see it for 514 days. They know what Alberta Health Services is like in there. They know what the food is and the lack of it. They know what sleeping arrangements are like. They know what it's like to have your room tossed. And they've actually encountered some people that have been in there for many, many, many months, the same as them. So I think there's a story there aside from our Coots 4. And we will get to that.
Well, what I highlighted on Twitter about this was, if the man had any motivation in his life at any point to overthrow the government and to hurt authority figures like police, that isn't the same man that would be saying, I'm going to work with that legal system later to try and fix it. Because that would be somebody who doesn't believe in the legal system at all.
No.
So I am convinced that this man not only did not have ambitions to destroy the legal system or hurt authorities, he's just like us. He doesn't even know why he's there. And he's a little bit naive enough at this point to think he can fix it when he gets out, once justice is happening.
Well, they've been living in a bubble and you got to remember, they didn't know about the legal system.
He's done a crash course, he said. He's learning now. He's going through all the documents. He's numbering things. He was very proud about the work he's done there.
Yeah, he's done a lot of work. He keeps track of everything, and he goes through his disclosure with a fine-tooth comb. And we've talked about that. There's nobody more important than you to take on your information. Yeah. It's your life. You know it inside and out. And his truth is locked up in a remand cell.
Yeah, well, I'm confident we're going to start hearing it soon. More and more of it. We're going to hear soon more. Yeah. Hey, Joe. Welcome, Joe. Sorry, Granny. Welcome, Joe. It's been a while since we've spoken to you. You've been sitting there listening patiently, I take it, and you're hearing this Coot stuff that we're working on. Have you been paying attention to the Coot stuff we're doing, and what's your take on this so far, Joe?
Well, first off, thank you so much for another opportunity to participate in your podcast, Jason. Awesome. Canada talking like this is so important. Granny, you're bringing it right to the table. and they will never be known as the Forgotten Four. We will forever stand on guard for our brothers that are unjustly incapacitated the way they are. This is a travesty and is deserving Canadians looking at our justice system and saying, this is wrong. There's a better way for us to manage our society than the way we are. There's days ahead where I see that's going to happen in Alberta. Unfortunately, it's many, many days ahead, years, in fact. We've a lot to overcome. And I encourage everybody to continue to support the four. That's the way I look at it. They're just four solid men standing there on guard for Alberta, taking it on the chin. This is so egregious to the face of justice. It shakes the head. The article David wrote, outstanding. I was sharing it like crazy to some of my overseas contacts to make sure they got it, like Melvin Nelville over in the UK, the East Coast guy. If you don't know who he is, he does some neat stuff over in Scotland. So there's many people around the world being aware of this, and it would be awesome if this was exposed in a magazine like you were saying down in the States. That needs to happen. You know, even if Tucker were to take a good close look at something like that, would be a good thing too. So we've got to keep the noise on and keep on sharing the information. And as you know, I won't be able to make it down to the Hat on the 25th. I've got to return to Edmonton. I'll be down in Calgary that weekend supporting Kelly. And but they're in my prayers every day. So thanks so much for asking. And how are you doing, Jason? You're just pumping it with these podcasts day and night and day. It's mind-boggling, and here I am trying to do my little shtick, and yet I'm still slaving away at a 40-hour job. Oh man, I'm so proud of you, Jason.
Oh, thank you so much, Joe. No, I'm plugging away as well, and frankly, to sit in front of a laptop, talking to a microphone, and look at a camera and talk to amazing Canadians, I think there'd be people that would take my spot in a heartbeat. So I'm very privileged, and I'm happy to do it. And to have a bit of an impact, to know that we are getting some more people paying attention, like Rick Abbott, the fired police sergeant from the Edmonton Police Services. He's now taking a closer look. We have Alex Cabana, who's a vet who knows his military equipment and his weapons and stuff. He's taking a look. We have Tracy Wilson, who's a Canadian Coalition of Firearm Rights. She's now interested in the gun portion of this, the charges on the gun side. She's taking a look. And now, of course, we have Gord from a news writer for a Newsweek taking a look. And then Lisa, Laura Lynn Thompson, like a whole bunch of people are now asking to talk to Granny, talk to me, talk to Donald, and get more information. So we're very, very privileged and pleased to be doing this. But thank you very much, Joe.
No problem. And Granny, don't you ever stop. The power of grannies.
Never, not in a lifetime. My grandson.
Granny, how can people support you? So you do bumper stickers, you do some other things. 100% of the proceeds go towards the men. There's some legal bills coming up. We're trying to get those taken care of. How can people go ahead and help?
Well, we accept e-transfers at operationrescue@protonmail.com. We have a Give, Send, Go. Search my name, Margaret Mackay, and the men's campaign will pop up. You can contact me personally, and there's a mailing address if you want to send checks. We do come out to different events at times, and some people bring us cash at those events. And like I said, the bumper sticker campaign can be found at grannymackay.ca. And that's actually getting some traction, and a lot of people are starting to read, take pictures of the bumper stickers, and ask questions. So it's working. Old school is working. And just get out and hit the share button, go out and have coffee and talk, and just keep talking until these guys come home.
And Granny, I just wanted to let you know all the proceeds for my book until they're out goes to the men.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Jason.
The day they step out, I'll start feeding my family. But until then, it goes to the men. So you can search me, Jason Levine, on Amazon. You can pick up that book. All proceeds until they get out go to the men. So when Donald shaves his beard, I'll start taking proceeds, because Donald's going to keep that beard going until they come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's.
Well, you want to say goodbye to Canada? I got to move over to BC now.
Yes, goodbye, Canada. See you in the morning at 6 a.m. with Jason and Donald and myself and special guests. Tomorrow, I'm really looking forward to that show. If you want to find out what it's about, see you at 6 in the morning.
You go. I'm going to make you my promo lady. Go ahead, Joe. You want to say goodbye and kind of tell us where we can find you or your next show?
Well, I sure can, Jason. First off, I want to thank Canada for taking a moment out of your life to listen to Jason on the Yellowhead Yacht Club. It's the place to be. To the rest of Canada, thank you so much. Thank you for being Canadian. So often we don't get thanked just for being Canadian. But today, thank you, Canada. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next show.
You know, Joe, it's time to go. Take care, brother. We'll talk to you soon. And Granny, 6 a.m. Island Jason set his alarm clock. He'll be there.
Okay.
We'll see you then.
Good night.
Take care. We love you, Granny.
Love you too.
And now we get to go to BC, and look who do we have here. We got Chris Erickson and Trevor right on. So we got a full house in BC. This is our first for us. Chris, do you have any front light? You look a little shady there. You might be anonymous to us. But nice to see you guys. Yeah, we can hear you, but the video is a little dark.
This is the last time it'll be like this. I get my gear tomorrow, so I'll be all lit up and be nice. So I apologize.
No problem.
For the haunting look today. No
problem. And it sounds like you have a microphone that will adjust as you speak. So when you're not speaking, I'll mute you. And then when you are speaking, you can go ahead and the adjustment will be good. You want to let everybody know who you are. You were a guest on our show not too long ago, and you're one of my best friends. And I wanted to make sure that you had some time on here and get a chance to say hi to everybody.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but good to be here. Haven't seen you in a bit. Yeah, Chris Erickson, former human rights advocate, still a human rights advocate, and pounding the pavement every day, working on wellness spaces, and at the moment trying to organize an event in Alberta. But I can't say too much right now, but I just want to start getting things together to try and bring people together, have some fun, good food, conversation, meet people. So maybe next week I'll have a bit more to report on that. But other than that, I'm just swinging away every day and enjoying as much of the summer as I can.
Well, I'm excited that you're looking at my backyard. That's fun. We'll talk more about that for sure. Hey, Trevor, how you doing, buddy? Thank you for making it. We tried to get you last week, but we got you this week. Why don't you go ahead and
be here.
Yeah, you came on one of our morning shows. You were basically helping us talk about the law early in this coot stuff. So thank you very much for joining us today on this Coast to Coast one.
Sure, and nice to see you again, and nice to see Chris. I've seen you on Twitter a little bit, and appreciate your voice out there. And Jason, I just wanted to emphasize your authenticity coming through is admirable. It's a pleasure to be around people that care about others. That's what we need more of, for sure.
Well, I'm not jaded and I'm not destroyed yet, so this is what a Canadian looks like. So I'm glad I can still be one. We'll see what I'm like in 20 years after I go through the system a few times. But until I do that, I'm happy to be who I am. And thank you very much. And actually, you might be doing an announcement. You might have some sort of announcement. You kind of been making a decision about doing something, maybe independent,
Oh,
still thinking?
I mean, I did look at running as running in the last election. And kind of my initial desire was to run in the Laval, Quebec region against David Lametti, because he's in conflict with the Constitution. He's breaching the charter right now. And so I wanted to bring public awareness to that. And I thought the best way to do that was to be run against him. And I went through the Green Party at the time, and the Green Party is dysfunctional and split up and terrible that I kind of pulled the plug on that. But I'm certainly looking at running as an independent, and I appreciate your voice, and found a few resources out there online. bcindependent.ca, I think, is one that really has some good information about how to be an independent candidate running in the elections. And even if it's just to get your voice out there, doesn't matter if you win or lose, that's fine.
Yeah, sometimes getting the message out, getting the crowd, spreading information it's a good way to do it. And if you watch this episode, at the beginning, Morgan May announced that she's going to be running as an independent in the next Nova Scotia election. So we're going to have somebody putting the voice out there. And then Maggie Hope Braun in Ontario announced that she's going to be working with independent groups, finding good candidates all over Ontario. So she announced, similar to you, Independent Ontario or something like that, as a website for resources as well. Very similar to what you just announced there. So Chris, I'm going to go back to you. Look at this. We've got possibly Trevor, maybe he's contemplating. We got Morgan May. We've got Maggie Hope Braun talking about helping people. We got me. it looks like independence might not be a joke anymore. People are starting to think about it and consider it. Do you think the temperature might be right, or as right as it could be for an independent type of situation? Do you think it might be starting to brew where there's a little bit of a crack for a couple of us?
I think so. I mean, people are looking for alternatives, right? And as it stands right now, to go in and like Trevor was saying, get your voice in there, be reasonable, realistic with your options. But it's about getting your voice out there, right? And so I still am I'm kind of pessimistic towards the whole electoral system. But the more people that you can get that, the more experience you can get, the better. I mean, it was very even similar to the last election, where even in our riding that I was a part of, TPC didn't have any chance of winning, but they were on stage putting their points out there and getting that message out, and anything you can do to shake that Overton window, I would highly encourage. I would imagine it would be a lot more fun as an independent, because you're not strapped by what you could truly be yourself in that, and be genuine without having to even make commitments, knowing full well you're not going to be able to keep them if you are elected. I think that's one of the things that the system, the establishment, is so toxic and so culty that anybody who can come from the outside. I mean, that sounds like fun to me. I'm not interested in all in running myself, but I would be more than willing to help. I have a lot of experience there, and I want to check out that website that Trevor was talking about, because I think that, get in there, get your voice out there, and shake it up a little. I always, that's to me the best part about it, is break that bubble, get in there, and put your voice out there, and a lot of the times it's just being an adult. It's what we're missing right now, is people to speak to talk to people like they're an adult, explain things in a way that they can understand it from the heart, as well as your whatever legislative policies you want to table. But I'm interested to see where this goes. I didn't know that Maggie O'Brien had announced more, and I missed the beginning of the podcast as well too. So I think that you could see a wave, and even if you had an independent bloc that was all working together to support each other, there is strength in numbers, because you have so many people right now that are jaded and disillusioned in many ways as well, right? So you can find camaraderie through that independence. I guarantee it, for sure.
Yeah, and the group that she mentioned, they do independence on every level, so municipal and up. So she's getting behind independent everywhere. And the cool thing about independence is it's really the only thing that unifies all the parties. Is the one thing they all agree on. We don't like independence. So we're a unifier even on that level. So if we can unify all the parties to agree on something, imagine what we can do if we had a seat in the House as well. Trevor, so based on that, you kind of heard Chris there, and he's quite the political guy. He understands the stuff well. And he's saying, there may be some cracks here, and people are maybe looking for some alternatives here. People are waking up, wisening up, and listening and paying attention more. And if we can keep talking like this, more and more will hear it. There might be an opportunity, and I would like to see that happen. Now, you don't live in Quebec, but would you move to Quebec if you won?
Oh no, I would have no chance of winning.
You just want to get your voice in there.
Statement, yeah. I think the important thing is to take the step, rather than saying it's all hopeless, we're disillusioned, we can't do anything. Everyone has ever made a difference, like Granny has taken a step and said, I care about others. And you, Jason, I care about others. I'm willing to put myself out. And, the path has been trodden before. And every time we do something, we open up a door, we take a path, we make an opportunity for someone else, even if it's 20 years from now. We put a path down that others can follow and see the way through. Right now we're seeing, like your last people on, we're showing that right wing, left wing, it's the same thing. They're just saying slightly different things, but they've been saying the same thing for 50, 60, 100 years. And nothing has really changed. They just swap parties, and the same people are in power, and the same people are ruling over, and they're not representing the public interest. And that is what the people of Canada are concerned with, is that we're seeing sort of an entrenched power and more people getting into corruption, and that corrupt practices are expanding. and the people of Canada are paying for it.
Absolutely. Now, yeah, go ahead, Chris. I'm actually going to throw it to you because I was going to ask if you think there could be any pockets of independence in like the Northeast BC area where there's a lot of gas and oil type of employment that's being affected. Do you think there might be a pocket of independent support somewhere around BC?
Well, I think that's the thing, right? Is that I think that there's a lot of independent moderates in Canada. Like, I think I would probably even hasten to say that you could find an equal boundary, but at the same time you're looking at apathy and willingness to participate. But the one thing that, because again, like if you compare the PPC, and I'm not saying anything negative about the PPC. I'm saying how the establishment and how the media attacks them. If you run as an independent, you remove that, right? Because the one thing the PPC has is to say, hey, elect us. They all sold out during the pandemic. Not one of them stood up, and if they did, they got kicked out, because you saw what happened to Roman Baber, right? And so when you're campaigning and you're out there, you're able to genuinely say to your constituents, I am going there for you. That you are what matters to me. You elect me, you send me there. What's first and foremost is I represent all of you, not this pocket, not this pocket. I will meet with every one of you at my office, hear you out, and if there's anything I can do to help you, I will, based on my commitment to the fact that you're voting for me, not voting for a party to send someone that's going to abandon you. Because we're still in a situation right now where we've been completely abandoned. There's no one in Parliament speaking to what we're speaking to. So I think that that's a crux that can really be a message that you can say, I'm going there for you. And it's not pandering, right? So I think it's there. It's just a matter of coordinating it, right?
And I think we need media. So I think independent media is also going to be key to this. Independent citizen journalism, that kind of stuff. And that has to grow. We actually have to grow that as well. So it becomes a good source to introduce new candidates and provide that as well. So I think it's going to be a two-pronged approach. We need to expand independent media independent journalism in order to open the door for independent candidates. So Trevor, you're nodding your head. So you kind of think maybe these two things are connected. We need to have independent journalism and independent candidates.
I think that's pretty much what the last couple of years has shown. And, you see the failure in the mainstream media. And it's because of people taking media into their own hands. And so there's no need for sort of a controlled media, because the people of Canada can take and send their message out to the world on Twitter or wherever they go. So that trust in the mainstream media is sort of done. And that was caused basically, once again, by corruption, by the prime minister donating a whole bunch of money and basically buying their support. And that's been happening forever as well. But, it really got shown where we're at. So I see there's also an opportunity coming up for an increase in participatory democracy rather than representative democracy. With the amount of communication and the ease of communication, we can have much better input into the government and direct the government more and control the government more than we ever have. And we have the capability with the internet to do that. So I think I was actually, I'll have to find out this book. There's a book out called Democracy Matters or something like that, written by a Canadian in Vancouver. And he's getting it published into a series. It'll be on TV or something like that. And I was just talking to him today, and he's got some great ideas on how democracy can be improved. And it was kind of interesting because I found him because I was looking at how we can improve democracy, because I was researching the Judges Act here in Canada. And basically the people of Canada have zero rights in the legal system. And the judges and lawyers control that entire system. And there is no rights to the people whatsoever. So I was looking at reforms to that and looking at the law and what all that kind of comes into it. And basically the people of Canada should be at the top of the legal system and at the top of the political system to check the powers. And it could be something simple like a jury system. And we just have a rotating system. Maybe people come in and serve for a year and move on out or something like that. but there is lots of opportunity for reform and for communication of these ideas and sharing of these ideas coming around.
Now, look, I'm not normally a split the country up type of guy or separates type of guy or anything like that. Okay, not normally, but okay. But I just want to say that Aaron Gunn's new movie. So I'm just going to put this on the screen here, that he just released here, Fractured Nation: The Pillaging of Western Canada. I watched it, and there was some stuff in here I didn't really know, and it started to make me think that we need to revisit this constitution thing of ours, because Quebec has some guaranteed constitutional powers that's not quite proportional. And I'm talking about the 3 Supreme Court appointees. That's 1/3 of the entire Supreme Court for one province. Yes, Ontario has that as well, and that leaves 3 for everybody else. And when we have a system where the Supreme Court is the final decision, including provincial matters on a federal level, balance of power is not quite balanced at all, and it explains why Quebec has all these other concessions and things that we can't get, and it also explains why we can't really move much from the West through the system. Now, look, I don't know if I was just Western pilled here, watching this particular show, but it was kind of shocking to me. So I'm going to go to you there, Chris. Like, in order to get a good, well-functioning democracy in Canada, it sounds like we need even a new constitution, because the separation of power and this distribution of power early in Canada isn't really applicable to the current Canada anymore. What do you think about that?
Well, I think we saw over the last 3 years that we are at the they can do whatever they want to us, and we have no recourse. And I'm a patriot through and through. This is my country, right? But you got to be realistic in what does the pathway forward look like to reestablish some level of normalcy. And that when I say normalcy, that's just basic protection for human rights.
Right.
So it's been so pushed over that I'm even considering. I've never been a separatist, right? But in a scenario of when I look at my country, I'm thinking we need a safe haven, because right now we don't know, right? Well, we know, but we don't know enough to, we can envision, doesn't matter who wins the next election, we're still under fire. And
right.
we don't have anybody talking about what you're just talking about now, as far as safeguarding protections that we thought we had, right? That Charter of Rights and Freedoms is useless. Bill of Rights is a bit stronger, but it doesn't seem like the courts are going to come to our aid in that, right? Even in Alberta, you see that Sheila is not able to get a transplant because of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even now you see the government federally is saying, get your booster. What are you talking about, right? We're just so lost in this dystopian nightmare. So at this point, I would take a look at it, and if it was viable, I would move. If that was something that happened, I would still, it would be a weird feeling. I'd still feel like a Canadian patriot, but at the same time, if Alberta was going to make that move and want to safeguard, protect people, and then you can build out from there as far as what you want to do. Alberta's resourceful, right? They're hampered, right? And we see what happens back east. All the favoritism, everything that gets done gets decided out there, and in the West we get no say. Yeah. And so for me, it's like, okay, if Alberta becomes the bunker where all of the organizing happens and all of the forward push, focus on Alberta, build Alberta through trade and other things to get it to a point where it can be, it's got so much potential and the right kind of people, except for Edmonton and Montreal. Edmonton and Calgary. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there with the woke center that they have there, but I still think a lot of that's a mirage with the numbers. Even with Gondik and Calgary, I'd question the results of that election, especially after what we saw happen with Chow in Ontario. So I think, if you can look past the mirage and look at Alberta as that, the Texas of Canada, that's appealing to me. Very appealing, right?
Well, that meme where that guy's walking and he's looking over his shoulder, the other one to get his attention? Well, that's me walking with sovereignty, taking a look over there at separation. Like, I don't know. It's kind of tempting a little bit. I'm not there yet, so I'll be very clear here. But as I'm looking through this, I'm like, well, can we reform our way out of this, or is there going to be some other way to do it? And like Preston Manning comes to mind, and he makes an appearance in this video as well, or at least his party and his efforts did. So can we reform our way out of this? Because I'm not sure Quebec would willingly just give up anything. So I'm not sure how that would work. Trevor, I'm going to go back to you, and then we're going to have to wrap up and get ourselves ready for the North. But yeah, have you looked at the Constitution a bit and kind of realized that it's very Quebec heavy, very Ontario heavy, even on the senator levels, things are not quite balanced.
For sure. And when I started thinking about this this split, and I've actually thought about it for a long time. Dissent matters. It doesn't matter whether it's going to happen or not, but to have the conversation is important. The reality is that Quebec and Ontario, when they did this idea of that all federal employees and stuff like that have to speak English and French, it really moved the control of federal politics and held that control in that Laurentian elite that they talk about, because Alberta and British Columbia really don't have a lot of relevance in French to learn French. So they're going to be isolated forever. And that's a reality. So it's a worthwhile conversation to have. And why not have the conversation? We learn something from every conversation and everyone we meet and everyone we talk to, and whether it's a good thing or not, who knows? But the other thing I wanted to bring up was the idea that we should reform the charter or do something else. The reality is that laws and charters and constitutions are only enforced by people. You can have anything you want in a constitution. Russia has a great constitution. It has more protections in it than our constitution in writing. The application, zero, or whatever they want to do, and we have the potential that happens in Canada too. And I can tell you, I've seen it from my experience in the legal system, is that the judges can ignore everything. Well, actually, they ignore the transcript.
Yeah, for sure. And you got to wake the people up to demand that they do what, like you said, it's really up to us to do it. So how do we get people to understand? And then freedom's not free. You got to put some blood and sweat into it. Hopefully it's a lot more sweat than blood, but you have to work for it. And if people are, because the trend is disconnection. They're disconnecting from politics and they're disconnecting from even their rights. In fact, they're surrendering them. That seems to be the trend here. So how do we first stop that trend and wake up more people? And I think independent media might play a role in that. But what else do you think might assist?
Yeah, you're totally on it. It's pretty much it's education. People are being indoctrinated to believe that somehow the charter protects them magically, and you go to a lawyer to get that. And without that, you don't get protected. And that's just wrong. You get protected by standing up for your rights and asserting them and standing up for yourself and not laying down in the gutter and taking fentanyl and giving up.
Right. And Chris, yeah, I'm going to move to you on that one. When you use the charter, it's not the charter versus the Crown. That's not the lawsuit. It's going to be somebody that's applying for protection under the charter. Now, when the government has a notwithstanding clause, which basically voids anything anyways, as long as they believe they have a good enough excuse, how do we work with that? Or is this kind of like a lost cause?
Prior to the pandemic, I would have said there was value because I use the human rights tribunals all the time. So, and I would say with 90% success.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's divine intervention there.
Right. But 90% of the time you'd get at least a positive result, even if it went to settlement. Right, because a lot of the times that was what it was. It very rarely went to tribunal. It was always people panicking. But the tool of we're going to force you to the table, that's really all it was. Most often, it was a mediation tactic that I'd have to use. It's like, you don't want to view this, you don't want to take a look at it, okay, fine. We'll force the disclosure through the tribunal. And that scares people. But now, it seems so lopsided. Like, I honestly feel like I was walking around with the charters in my backpack like an idiot for the last 20 years, thinking that it had some teeth, right? It was just, it's part of the Kafkaesque game for the most part. And when you think of the severe violations that we've seen over the last 3 years, and they won't even listen to it, right? We're not even seeing these challenges go through. We're still trying to fight just to get the harms to be acknowledged. I think that our effort can be better spent elsewhere, and focus on places where personal sovereignty is the key. Like, you think of Alberta sovereignty, fantastic, but do they represent and will they protect my personal sovereignty? that's where we have a problem right now. Is the government seems they want to be the parent, they want to be the doctor, they want to be everything for us, and if we don't comply, we can't get a Grand Slam breakfast at Denny's, or worse, right? You know what I mean? Like, it is so far off the rails, but it's good because it has to go to that part so that we can realize, you know, what we want. When you first see and you see all these protections fade, and they're all exposed now as just a giant gaslighting, basically, since the inception of the charter. Now we know how vulnerable we are, so we need to act in unison. And if that doesn't get you off the couch, then I don't know what will. Right? We have to come together, figure it out, stand as one. And that's the thing. I think it was Eisenhower. Was it Eisenhower that said, you know, the duty, if you want to, the true freedom of right, you know, having rights is rights for all. It's not just the individual, right? And so many people right now don't recognize that they are one no away from being an other, right? So we just got to keep going, and keep pushing, keep speaking to it.
Now, if you don't mind, stick around for a little bit. It looks like our Yukon connection is having some internet problems, so we may not be able to get them on. So if you don't mind, I'll kind of extend this for a little bit. Now, Trevor, I'm going to go back to you. Now, separate from what we've just been talking about, you have a legal issue. Do you want to kind of address that legal issue, the problems that you're dealing with on the BC level?
Oh, sure.
You have a few minutes if you want to highlight some of the problems there.
Yeah, well, I quite a few years ago, I ran into a situation where I had a lawyer create a fraudulent court order, and I caught it, and I tried to get him to correct it, and he refused to do so. So I got the transcript of the trial or the hearing, and I presented it to the judge and said, look, this lawyer is not changing the court order to reflect what was properly said. And the judge called up my ex-wife and asked her what she had heard the judge say, and preferred that evidence to the transcript.
Wonderful.
And so I made a complaint to both the Law Society and the Canadian Judicial Council, and they both denied that there was any problem with the conduct of anyone. And so then I've been playing around with that for a while here now, and seeing how the legal system interacts with me, and with that piece of evidence sitting on me. And it's just full denial and full obstruction of justice, and I'm just recording it and trying to present it to Parliament and get politicians. But the interesting thing is, not a single politician, almost not a single politician, almost.
So you may have one or two that's looking.
I've got a couple that have responded to me, but very undercover. But it's an interesting situation because it brings in our whole democracy and our stability of our legal system, and everything that we're supposed to have protection for the public, and we don't have it.
I'm sorry about that. Keep us up to date on that. I think I'm going to have an hour or something with you in the future, because I want to kind of break down your situation a bit more. Because your first line that you sent me, which was you had a divorce in the past, it was rough, and now the new one is using that same lawyer. So I think there's a little bit of a story here that I wouldn't mind going through with you.
Oh, it's a big story for sure. It's a huge story.
Yeah, and we need this kind of accountability and transparency on the courts level as well.
Yeah.
So I think we'll bring some attention to that.
For sure.
So on that note, I'm going to have to go up to the north. They're waiting on us. You know, it's nice and late there, but we're going to get some news. I'm going to have to do the news.
Nice chatting to you, Jason, and nice seeing you in person, Chris. It's a pleasure, and I've always enjoyed your Twitter's posts there. Thank you very much, and thanks again, Jason.
It's always good to have a face to that Twitter now. So now when you see his stuff, you'll see his face and hear his voice. Thank you very much, Chris.
It's good to see you, and I'm now connected. I'm following you, and it's good to see you, Trevor, and I'm sure we'll connect again for sure. Thanks again, Jason.
Hey, you guys take care. We'll talk soon, both of you.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Now we're going to head up to the Yukon, and I'm going to have to provide it because it looks like the connection to the Yukon is not stable, and we're not able to get them on. But that's okay. We're here for the news, and I got 15 minutes, so I'll do 5 minutes for each. Going through the Yukon news, there's a lack of nurses temporarily closes limited service at 3 more rural Yukon health centers. So unfortunately, it appears just like everywhere else, and it might be but they're not even vaccine, the COVID drug related, where if you didn't take it, you're no longer working there. And a lot of people leaving. And it's also hard to attract to the Yukon, all types of people. So nurses and doctors and stuff would be an issue for sure. But to have 3 of them, holy smokes, that's going to be an issue for sure. And let me just read this quickly here. They don't have alternate centers. Sorry, folks. We weren't ready for much of this, so we're just kind of reading the news together. But that would be an issue for sure. Now, let me see if Padge has got the next one, Northwest Territories. Nope, not just it. Oh, look at that. She just popped it up. Give me 1 second, folks. Now, if you're done for the night, go ahead. We're going to wrap this up very soon, but I do want to get you some news from Northwest Territories. Here we go. Yellowknife reinstates municipal fire ban. Oh, no. So they removed it and they have to put it back. So it's drying up again. And Paula, let me know if you got any updates on the bison that we had last week as well. But we'll see what we got for Nunavik. So it looks like it's still dry. And let me just quickly reduce the risk of fires within city limits. So look at this. The entire country this year burnt, folks. So we know every province had fires this year. Does anybody recall another year where we actually had that coast to coast fires? I know we've had some big ones out in the west and stuff like that, but the entire country was on fire this year, it appears. Oh, wow. Okay, now we got some news from Nunavik. Let's see if it's about the buffalo, because that was great news last time, where there's some arsenic being found in the soil and it was killing off buffalo. Oh, right. What do we have here for Nunavik? The U.S. ambassador talks business security on first trip to Nunavik. So some U.S. investments coming up to Nunavik. Well, it's always good when we can attract outside business because it brings the money into the country. But as you know, investors want returns on it as well. So money will be leaving the country. And what are they working on here, Paula? Comcast. Oh, cool. So they're bringing media up there. Well, that's interesting. What are they doing up there? I bet you a bunch of you are thinking 5G towers all of a sudden or something. I don't know. But Comcast is a communication company. They do mobile. And I believe they even have some TV stuff. So that's interesting. So they're attracting some investments. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Now, I did have a special surprise for you. I didn't want to leave without doing another Greg Arcade song. He's got a few of them, okay? And I also want to play one song for John, which is Zahena's special song that he created for us. Oh, Paula just said no update on the bison. So I think they're still at 6 dead then. So there you go, Nunavik. Padge, if you will go ahead and throw the Canadian flag up, we can use that one now. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some. Look at that flag. Isn't it gorgeous? It's a good flag. And by the way, if the West separated, we're keeping the flag. Just so you know, we're going to take that with us. You East guys are going to have to come up with a new one. But let me go to Greg Arcade and play a song from him. And then a special song for John. I'm going to play that Zahena song that everybody loved last time as well. All right. Go Down Swinging. This is another good tune from Greg. So just give me a second. I'll bring this up for you. And remove this one. And how are you liking the show, folks? It was a full, well, except for the North. We kind of lost it. But we had a really good run, didn't we? We had some great guests this time. We had great guests last time. So if you're on a previous show, don't get all insecure about it. But I really enjoyed Maggie. I really enjoyed Morgan. Kevin's always a hoot to talk to. And I enjoyed having a musical guest. Maybe we'll try and do that each week. Not necessarily always Manitoba, but maybe I'll try and find a musical guest each week. So we can get one from each province or something. Let me know if you'd like that. We'll work on that for you. But here we go. Go Down Swinging. So it's a fighting song. And this is kind of what we need. We need to, fight for some freedom around here. So let's go ahead and enjoy a little bit more Greg Arcade.
She was sitting all alone in a motel beside the highway. She'd been living out her car since the government took her job. Coerced to comply or they were letting her go. She knew money wasn't worth giving up her soul. Alone on the road, she's scared of where she might end up tomorrow. You gotta fight against the tide of the light, all that you got inside you. swinging, you can say that you did all you could do. It's been a few months since he last heard the sound of his kid's voice. Their mom had signed them up, but he wanted them to have a choice. He told her, trust in God, she just turned up the TV, so they never put that poison in them or me. Now he only sees his kids in between the court's legal proceedings. You gotta fight against the dying of a lot with all that you got inside you. If you go down swinging, you can say that you did all you could do. Down alone, 'cause there ain't nobody coming to visit. Doesn't know his family's outside, 'cause the hospital won't let them in. You gotta fight against the dying of the light with all that you got inside you. If you go down swinging, you can say that you did all you could do. You gotta fight against the dying of the light with all that you got inside you. If you go down swinging, you can say that you did all you could do.
My gosh, I like his music. I like it a lot. A lot. Manitoba, you got some good music. You guys know Zahena. This is John's favorite song. I know Ellen loves it. Tammy loved it. Everybody loved it. Here you guys go. It's called This Is the Final Call.
Broken in this prison cell of my
Yeah, come on, say hey now. I love that. I love that. I love that, buddy. We do got to pause it though. I love it, say hey now. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I saw in the comments that somebody mentioned there's another artist out there. Just have them reach out to me if they want to be on the show. We'll have them as a musical guest. There you go. So Freedom Ron Clark's wife. I'm sure she has her own name too. Happy to have her on as well. So if you know some artists in the freedom movement or just artists that want to come and play, let me know. Reach out to me. Twitter, the DMs are open, and we go ahead and do all this comment stuff now in the bottom here. I believe we have them this time. Yeah, there they are. I'll start with the comment one. And yeah, leave your comments in the bottom. I do read them all, especially if you're on Facebook. It's getting really long. So I will respond to some of them. Can't respond to them all. There's a whole bunch of them. But yeah, go ahead and leave your comments below, and I will get back to you. And if you like it, clip it. Getting this out there is one of the best things we can do. So if there's a part that you like, maybe it was the song from Greg, maybe it's a Hannah's song, maybe the announcement from Morgan. In either case, you like it, you clip it and put it out there. We are streaming on Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Getter. So there's a whole bunch of platforms. No matter where you are, we're going to find you. So go ahead and give us a watch. And of course, subscribe to my channel. I just found out we just broke the 900 mark, just around the corner from 1,000. We're going to have that 1.0K or something like that soon. But thank you all very much for your support. And by far, Facebook and Rumble are growing faster than YouTube. So go ahead and do that one as well. And hey, if you want to show a lot of love, subscribe on all of them. Go to each one of them, especially LinkedIn. We'd like to build that one up a little bit more. So thank you all very much for showing up. I do appreciate it. I had a lot of fun today. So Morgan May announces that she's running as an independent on the provincial level. That's wonderful. We got Maggie Hope Braun announcing that she's going to be working with an independent organization. And we have another announcement coming from her next week about some decisions she's made. That's exciting. We had Trevor over in BC mentioning that he's now taking another look at this whole independent thing. So look, I think there's something here. You got 4 of them on this stream that are potentially working with, helping with, or becoming independent candidates as well. So give it a thought. Give it a thought, everybody. And John says, oh, yeah, baby. Now I've got to get that melody. Now I've got that melody in my head. Crank it up, homie, because I want you to feel the freedom. It does not get better than this. Rock and roll patriotism and Jason Levine. You know what? If I get 3 more, play that again. I'll play that one more time before we sign off. But what I was really excited about is we had voices across Canada. And what I'm talking to some people about, and if you caught my Alex Cabana episode, what I talked to him about was, should there be a network or some place where we can just go there and there'll be various hosts on there, me and other people as well. A lot of people liked that idea. They liked it a lot. I'm talking to Zach out there. I don't know if we have to wait for anybody. Maybe we can get the ball rolling. But I think I want to hear a lot more voices. Okay, I got to play it again as Ellen. And by the way, Ellen, when you did that music with the dancing, I was dancing with you. So that was for you. So go ahead and add some more of those. That's number 2. I've seen 2 now. There we go, Weechi. 3rd time's a charm. So you guys want to hear it again? Let's get this lined up for you. And...
Hate all you want.
I'm having way too much fun. It's because of you, Ellen. It's because of you, audience. It's because of you, Canada. I'm in love. I'm in love with this country. If we have to split, I'll be in love with 2 countries. But I love you all. It was a great show. Thank you all very much for being here. And we got one more little song. It's the outro. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much, Canada. Coast to coast to coast. It was a great relay. Love you all. God bless.